being held as part of the national inquiry being conducted by the Commission on the Impact of Climate Change on Human Rights of the Filipino People. This proceeding stems from a petition filed before the Commission docketed as CHR case number CHRNI 2016-0001. The solemnity of the public hearing shall be upheld at all times. Respect should be accorded to everyone present. The clapping of hands and unnecessary remarks shall not be allowed and may be regarded as direct contempt by the inquiry panel. Cell phones should be turned off or put on silent mode while proceedings are going on. All rise. The commissioners comprising the inquiry panel are Honorable Commissioner Reyes C. Tanodra Armamento, Inquiry Panel Chairman of the NICC, Honorable Commissioner Roberto Eugenio T. Cadiz, and Honorable Commissioner Karen S. Gomez Dumpit. Please remain standing for the national anthem and the ecumenical prayer.
Kayang magiling, perlas ng silanganan, alab ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka lang magiging, sa manlulupig. Di ka pasisiil sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bughaw. May dilagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning. Ang bituing nag-araw niya, kailan pa may di magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng walhatit pagsinta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na pag may mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Dakilang may likha sa kalingat pang-unawa, mangyari ang iyong diwa sa langit at sa lupa. Bigyan mo ng sapat ang lahat sa araw-araw. Turo ang magparaya, gaya ng iyong gawa. Iadyan niyo kami sa pagmamataas upang maiwaksi ang lupit at dahan. At sa mahang lumikha ng pamayanan payapa sa kalikasan kabukayan, kakaniyahan, paniniwala. Siya nawa, siya nawa, siya nawa, siya nawa.
Everyone may now be seated. The chairman of the inquiry panel has invited Father Pedro Walpole to assist the panel in this inquiry, which he has kindly accepted. Pedro Walpole is a practitioner in sustainable environment and community land management in Southeast Asia and works mainly with local communities, universities, international organizations, and governments. Pedro is responsible for establishing in 1997 the Environmental Science for Social Change, or ESSC, a Jesuit research institute in the Philippines that promotes environmental sustainability and social justice through the integration of scientific methodologies and social processes. He is currently ESSC's Director for Research, and his work in the communicate is in communicating more widely a greater and more comprehensive understanding of the real causes of landslides and flooding as they occur in different areas of the country, analyzing the social justice implications of land use change in the Philippine uplands, upland watershed and forest management, and the adaptations needed to respond to the impact of climate change and land use change. Pedro has a PhD degree in land use change from King's College in London, UK, and teaches a course on integrating human development in national resource management for graduate students of the UN mandated University for Peace and the Ateneo de Manila University. Pedro sustains global ecology discussions and responses as coordinator of ECO Jesuit, the global ecology network of Jesuits and partners that includes the scientific community, business leaders, academic institutions, and social and environmental institutions that seek integral human development and an integral ecology. In northern Mindanao, Philippines, Pedro directs the Apu Palamguan Cultural Education Center that operates an upland basic education program and technical training for indigenous youth and that has its own culture-based curriculum, promotes multi-language education, and the use of the mother tongue. He continues to live with the Pulangien, an upland indigenous community in Mindanao.
May we request the appearance of councils?
Good morning, Your Honors. Zelda Soriano, respectfully appearing for the petitioners.
Good morning, Your Honors. Griselda Mayoanda, respectfully appearing for the petitioners.
Good morning, Your Honors. Hasmina D. Paudak, respectfully appearing for the petitioners.
Thank you very much, councils. Are there other councils in this room representing the respondents who might want to formally enter their appearance? There being none, we may now proceed to the presentation of evidence by the petitioners.
Your Honors, before we proceed with the presentation of our witnesses and resource persons, we would like to manifest three things.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. And first, we would like to manifest that the signatures identified by the following witnesses and resource persons in the last public hearing, namely Ms. Rica Kahilig, Dr. Jerry Bagtasa, Dr. Peter Framhoff, Mr. Felix Cajun Pascua Jr., Ms. Rosalina de Guzman, Ms. Larissa Libao, Mr. Ernesto Cruz, and Dr. Victorio Molina were electronic signatures. Unless the Honorable Commission directs otherwise, may we respectfully request the Honorable Commission to accept those e-signatures, considering that they were duly identified and confirmed by the signatories during the first public hearing, and obtaining the new signatures would be difficult given the time and distance constraints. That's for our first manifestation, Your Honors.
The validity of e-signatures are recognized. They are now accepted in widely practiced and accepted within our courts.
Thank you, Your Honors. So, Your Honors, in compliance also with the Honorable Commission's directive, during the first public hearings, we would like to manifest that we also submitted the transcription from Filipino to English translation, or it includes a Filipino to English translation of testimonies of the following petitioners' witnesses: Ms. Rica Cahilig, Mr. Felix June Pascua, Ms. Larissa Libao, Ms. Elma Reyes, and Mr. Ernesto Cruz, through an ex parte manifestation and submission dated 8th of May 2018. That's for a second manifestation, Your Honor.
The manifestation is noted with further note that the accuracy of the translation will be compared with the translations made by the panel.
Thank you, Your Honors. And finally, we would like to manifest that the study entitled Impact of Climate Change on Human Health by author Jinky Lailani D.P. Lu, published in pages 91 to 98, volume 50, number 2, year 2016, of Acta Medica Filipina, consisting of 8 pages, which was asked from Dr. Victorio Molina, one of our petitioner's witnesses, during the last hearing on March 28, was already submitted to the Honorable Commission through a manifestation dated 24th of April 2018 and was duly marked as Exhibit RR to RR7 during the pre-marking of exhibits on the 21st of May 2018.
The manifestation is duly noted.
Thank you, Your Honors. We are now ready to present our first witness.
May we know who this first witness is?
Good morning again, Your Honors.
Good morning.
Our first witness for today is Mr. Carol Moffett. He will be on Skype. So the presentation will be made through Skype.
All right.
He's there. Good evening, Mr. Carol Moffett. Good evening to you and good morning here. Your Honor, will he be sworn?
Before he provides his testimony, may we request Attorneys Jose and De La Cruz, who among you will swear in the witness? Okay. Can you please swear the witness? But please wait for him to appear on the monitor. Mr. Moffett, we cannot see you here. Is the connection there? I mean,
I'm sharing my video, but there does appear to be a problem. Are you seeing my screen share?
yes, we are. But we first have to swear you in as a witness. Can we see you first, your face on the monitor?
Yes, I'm trying that. I don't know why I'm not visible. My camera is on.
All right, we can wait.
I will restart my camera to see if that helps.
All right.
I've restarted my camera.
Mr. Carroll, please click the ellipsis and stop first the share of the presentation. Okay, thank you very much.
We can now see you.
Okay.
Can we now have the witness sworn?
Mr. Witness, kindly raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this hearing under the penalties provided for by law?
I so swear.
Thank you very much, counsel. You may now examine your witness.
Mr. Carl Moffett is the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Center for International Environmental Law. He is the Principal Researcher and Editor of CIEL Smoke and Fumes Research Project. We are presenting him as an expert and resource person to discuss in greater detail the legal and evidentiary basis of CIEL Smoke and Fumes Project and the liability or accountability of the carbon majors beginning 1957 up to the present. Before we proceed, Your Honors, may I make preliminary questions in relation to the documents he has submitted?
Please go ahead.
Mr. Carl Moffett has submitted through email, Your Honors, 22 documents. And I'd like to start, there are two important documents that I'd like his confirmation. Good evening there again, Mr. Moffett, and good morning from us. Do you confirm and affirm that you submitted to the Commission on Human Rights through your counsel 22 documents as part of your testimony today?
I do.
The first document that you submitted refers to your curriculum vitae consisting of 8 pages. Do you confirm and affirm the statements contained in this document?
I do.
The second document you submitted is a PowerPoint presentation on the legal and evidentiary basis for holding carbon majors accountable for the climate crisis, consisting of 56 pages, but at the moment the printout is 28 pages. Do you confirm and affirm the statements contained therein and the fact that this has been submitted to the Commission?
I do, with one minor correction. One citation included on a slide in that record presentation referred to the incorrect document. I have corrected that in my presentation for today.
Thank you. And do you attach 20 documents as references to your PowerPoint presentation? Do you confirm and affirm that these 20 documents were submitted through email and is now with the Commission on Human Rights?
I do.
Now, in the interest of time, Your Honors, we would not have to go through the 20 documents individually. I would like to manifest, Your Honors, that we have pre-marked these 22 documents last May 21st, 2018.
Excuse me, Counsel. Can you tell what the markings are? Pre-marked as what? Exhibits what?
For the curriculum vitae of Carol Moffett, consisting of 8 pages, this has been pre-marked as Exhibit SS and series up to SS7. And then the next important document is the printed PowerPoint presentation of Carol Moffett, consisting of 28 pages, pre-marked as Exhibit TT and Series T-27. Now, on the 20 documents, Your Honors, attached and referred to in Mr. Moffett's PowerPoint presentation, these have been pre-marked as Exhibits UU and Series up to Exhibit NNN and Series NNN-45. Those are the markings of the 20 documents which have been used as references to his PowerPoint presentation. And in the interest of time, Your Honor, may we skip the stating every document, Your Honor.
Yes, that was the whole purpose behind the pre-marking, so that the submission is facilitated. So you can now proceed to other matters.
Thank you, Your Honors. And at this juncture, Your Honor, we would now give the floor to Mr. Carl Moffett for his presentation.
Good morning, Mr. Moffett. You may now proceed to give your testimony.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Chairman, honorable members of the Commission, I am pleased and honored to share with you today this testimony on behalf of myself and the Center for International Environmental Law. CL is a nonprofit organization that uses the power of law to protect the environment, promote human rights, and ensure a just and sustainable society. Before beginning my presentation, I would like to note that I've simplified my presentation for presentation today. Please refer to my full record presentation as the official presentation. There are no major substantive differences aside from the correction that I noted earlier and which I'll point out during the presentation. To understand the potential responsibilities of the respondents in the present inquiry, it is important to begin with the basic links in the climate litigation chain, which are the links that exist in any litigation chain. That chain requires three essential elements. It requires identifiable plaintiffs with particularized harms, and those harms must be fairly traceable to the actions of an identifiable group of defendants. In recent years, the science of attributing climate impacts has grown increasingly precise. Whether the plaintiff is a Peruvian farmer affected by glacial melt in the Andes, or communities on either side of the United States affected by rising sea levels, or communities in the Philippines affected by catastrophic impacts of more intense, more severe typhoons. The evidence linking their harms to climatic change and human-caused climatic change grows more robust with every day and indeed, or with every year and indeed with every month. With this greater precision in our attribution of specific harms to climate change itself comes an expanding universe of potential plaintiffs, whether they are present victims of climate impacts, persons exposed to increased future risk, consumers, workers, investors, states and cities responsible for protecting their citizens, their consumers, and their investors, or, as in the present case, national governments responsible for respecting, protecting, and upholding the human rights of their citizens. So as that universe of plaintiffs expands, the question arises, who are the appropriate defendants? And here, too, the science of attribution has made quantum leaps in recent years. In 2014, a researcher by the name of Richard Heady of the Climate Accountability Institute released a landmark study that traced nearly 2/3 of global historic industrial greenhouse gas emissions to 90 entities worldwide. Significantly, of those 90 entities, 50 were investor-owned companies, including major producers of fossil fuels, such as Chevron, ExxonMobil, Royal Dutch Shell, British Petroleum, and Peabody. Many of the respondents that sit before the Commission today. I will note that I am currently a member of the Board of Trustees of the Climate Accountability Institute, but I was not a member of the board when this research was initially done. Significantly, in the wake of the original Carbon Majors study, other researchers have built on that work to extend its conclusions and apply them to the real-world impacts we are seeing all around us. In 2017, researchers from Oxford, the Climate Accountability Institute, and the Union of Concerned Scientists collaborated on a study, a peer-reviewed study, that traced not only historical sea level rise to individual carbon majors and to the carbon majors as a group, but indeed was able to demonstrate how it is possible to attribute changes in global mean surface temperature to those same companies, and historical rises in global sea level, and indeed increases in mortality attributable to certain extreme weather events. With this rising scientific ability to identify not only our plaintiffs, but a potential class of defendants, the question arises, can we and should we hold that class of defendants accountable? There's a fundamental answer that lies in the basic elements of responsibility in multiple domains of law. Whether evaluated in human rights law, in the law of common law torts, or the law of civil liability in civil law countries, we hold someone responsible for an outcome when three things occur. They have the capacity to foresee a potential harm, they had the opportunity to avoid it, and they failed to take reasonable measures to do so. In the words of French jurist Antoine Loisel in 1607, he who can, but does not prevent, sins. The International Commission of Jurists reached a similar conclusion in its 2013 treatise on corporate complicity and legal accountability in the context of grave human rights abuses. The International Commission of Jurists concluded that to determine responsibility, it must consider four basic questions. Was harm inflicted to an interest of the victim that is protected by law? As the Commission has previously heard, and as future witnesses will attest, the citizens of the Philippines, including the petitioners, have experienced profound impacts to their human rights from an array of climate change impacts. Next, did the company's conduct contribute to the infliction of the harm? As suggested by the Carbon Majors study and subsequent studies, the answer is it did, and in a very fundamental way. But for fossil fuels being brought to the market by the Carbon Majors, they would not have been burned. Did the company know, or would a prudent company in the same circumstances have known, that its conduct posed a risk of harm to the victim? And considering this risk, did the company take the precautionary measures a prudent company would have taken in order to prevent the risk from materializing? The balance of my presentation will address those questions. But before beginning, I want to highlight that in determining what are foreseeable risks with respect to products, court hold manufacturers and marketers of those products to an expert standard, recognizing that they should be experts in every aspect of their products. And for the petroleum industry, carbon was their product. This led us at CL to ask, what did the oil industry know about climate change? When did they know it? And what did they do with that information? What we found over the course of 5 years of investigation and counting is that fossil fuel companies have been aware of the risk of climate change and their products' role in exacerbating those risks for at least 6 decades. This shouldn't be surprising in retrospect, given that climate change has been a subject of scientific hypothesis, scientific theory, and scientific debate since the 1850s, and that it's been actively debated in peer-reviewed journals since no later than the 1930s. Unsurprisingly, therefore, in our investigations, we determined that oil companies were on notice, clear notice, of climate risks by no later than the 1950s. In 1957, 5 scientists from Humble Oil, now ExxonMobil, published a study in the Transactions of the American Geophysical Union that directly and deeply engaged on the most important climate science of the time, and indeed responded to what was at the time a then months-old breakthrough study by Roger Revelle that is considered the start, often the start, of the modern climate science debate. By 1958, the American Petroleum Institute's Smoke and Fumes Committee was demonstrably funding climate research, and we know this from reports of the committee's funding and its work prepared by industry sources themselves. Significantly, this research was undertaken in the context of a committee whose express objective was to fund and actively disseminate such industry research to influence the public and limit unnecessary regulation of the industry in the context of air pollution. Equally significantly, That committee was founded with an explicit focus on informing the public to help prevent, quote, unsound legislation. It did so through placements in magazine articles, leaflets, authoritative statements, reactive lines on public complaints received by the companies, the circulation of pertinent articles, and active outreach to the press. The goal, as one industry report noted, was to avoid the problem of panicky people, because passing a law is in many cases the wrong way to start about solving an air pollution problem. Equally significantly, and in the same year, 1958, an oil industry report to the government, submitted by this same Smoke and Fumes Committee, acknowledged that the oil industry's responsibility extended not only to pollution caused from its production and manufacturing operations, but just as importantly, from the use of petroleum and its products. The companies therefore recognized that their responsibility did not end when their product left the store shelves and ended up in someone's car. In 1959, eminent scientist Edward Teller expressly warned a high-level meeting of oil executives that a temperature rise corresponding to 10% increase in carbon dioxide would be sufficient to melt ice caps and submerge the city of New York. He further warned that all coastal cities would be covered, since a considerable percentage of the human race lives in coastal region. This chemical contamination could be far more serious than most people believed. By 1969, we can document that the chief geologist for Shell Oil was also reporting on and aware of climate risks, noting that analyses indicate that the CO2 content of the atmosphere since 1900 has increased 10%, and further noting that this could lead to long-term changes in the temperature of the planet, with potentially profound effects both on weather and on ecology. The question arises, however, why should we anticipate that any one oil company would be aware of the scientific information available to another oil company? And here is where internal documents from the American Petroleum Institute, secured through unrelated litigation, provide a significant insight, because those documents demonstrate a strong presumption that scientifically relevant data and articles relating to the impact of pollutants would be actively shared by any company acquiring them with other members of relevant API committees. Who were those members? That same litigation exposed membership lists for API that allow us to begin piecing together when companies might have been on constructive notice of climate risks. We can demonstrate that by 1957 and 1958, many of the current carbon majors or their predecessors or subsidiaries were already actively involved in the American Petroleum Institute, including predecessors of ConocoPhillips, Phillips 66, Chevron, ExxonMobil, and British Petroleum, and Shell, of course. These companies, and still others, would also have been API members in 1968, when API received its first truly stark warning of the risks of climate impacts and the soundness of climate science. That warning came from API's own consulting scientists at the Stanford Research Institute. In the course of a comprehensive report spanning more than 100 pages, the SRI analysis spent many of those pages looking in depth at the issue of CO2. It cautioned that rising levels of CO2 would likely result in rising global temperatures and could lead to melting ice caps, rising sea levels, warming oceans, and serious environmental damage on a global scale. It further noted that fossil fuel burning provided the best explanation for the rising CO2 in the atmosphere. And it emphasized that while there were uncertainties, existing science was detailed and seem to adequately explain the present state of CO2 in the atmosphere. And despite those uncertainties, the Robinson report further recommended that the highest research need was into systems in which CO2 emissions from fossil fuels could be brought under control. Thus, by no later than 1968, the petroleum industry as a whole was on notice of climate change, its most probable causes, its potential risks, and the pressing need to research technologies to reduce CO2 emissions. The following year, and at API's request, the authors did a supplemental report which revisited and buttressed their earlier analysis with new and more extensive evidence. While the authors again acknowledged uncertainties, they concluded that it is ironic in air pollution technology that the industry was so focused on small-scale local events such as smog, when abundant pollutants such as CO2, which are generally ignored, could be the cause of serious, worldwide environmental changes. What did the industry do with that information? 3 years later, while acknowledging the Robinson report and the supplement and highlighting in a submission to the government that Robinson and Robbins, the authors, were eminent scientists and their work comprehensive, they nonetheless disregarded that report with respect to its findings on climate change, and directly contradicting their own earlier findings from their consultants, argued to the US government that based on scientific studies, on a global aggregate basis, air pollution is not a serious problem. Ciel analyzed the membership of the task groups and steering committees that authored that report. The members of the task group included Mobil Oil Corporation and Humble Oil, both now part of ExxonMobil, Gulf Oil Corporation and Texaco, both now part of Chevron, Phillips Petroleum, now part of ConocoPhillips, Standard Oil of Indiana, now part of British Petroleum, and Shell Oil. By 1978, Exxon scientist James Black was warning the company that man has a time window of 5 to 10 years before the need for hard decisions regarding changes in energy strategies might become critical. 4 years later, another Exxon scientist, Roger Cohen, noted that in summary, the results of our research are in accord with the scientific consensus on the effect of increased atmospheric CO2 on climate. In the ensuing years, the industry began to recognize that climate threatened not only the world as a whole and people within the world, but the industry's own operations, with scientists from both Exxon and Shell recognizing that climate change could pose a risk to any long-lived infrastructure investments. As a consequence, and the following year, in 1989, Shell Oil took the first steps to actually raise one of its oil rigs to protect it against the long-term impacts of climate change. In 1988, in a recently disclosed confidential internal report on the greenhouse effect, Shell also demonstrated the ability of these companies to account for and calculate their own individual contributions to global CO2 emissions. Shell calculated in 1988 that in 1984, Shell Group companies had, through their sales, accounted for 4% of CO2 emitted worldwide. What's remarkable about this figure is it's not unlike, in fact, quite close to a similar figure calculated for the same company for the same year by Richard Heady of the Climate Accountability Institute several decades later, demonstrating that the fundamental methodology used by Rick Heady is not unlike the methodologies the companies have applied themselves internally. By 1991, we can demonstrate that the companies were well aware of climate risks. How can we do so? In 91, Royal Dutch Shell released a video, Climate of Concern, in which it acknowledged that climate might change too fast, perhaps, for life to adapt without severe dislocation. It acknowledged the increasing frequency of abnormal weather, the increasingly destructive storm surges that were likely to result, with warmer seas that could make such destructive surges more frequent and more ferocious. It acknowledged sea level rise, the displacement of people living on low-lying islands, and the potential for greenhouse refugees displaced by shifting climates. Shell cautioned that global warming is not yet certain, but many think that to wait for final proof would be irresponsible. Action now, Shell said in 1991, is seen as the only safe insurance. The question is, what action did the companies take? And here, a document discovered from Imperial Oil, ExxonMobil's Canadian subsidiary from 1980, is instructive. A senior Imperial Oil scientist said in 1980, there is no doubt that increases in fossil fuel usage and decreases in forest cover are aggravating the problem of increased CO2 in the atmosphere. More importantly, technology exists to remove CO2 from stack gases, but removal of only 50% of the CO2 would double the cost of power generation. Thus, we can demonstrate that from the 1980s onward, one or more oil companies had the technical capacity and the opportunity to reduce climate risks associated with greenhouse emissions, but chose not to do so for commercial reasons. What did they do instead? Here, the documentation is far more abundant and far more robust. Through multiple exposés published by nonprofit organizations, by scientific researchers, by historians, and by media outlets, multiple media outlets, it has been demonstrated that the oil companies undertook a decades-long, multi-million-dollar campaign to persuade the public that climate change was not a serious risk, that human conduct was not to blame, or that climate simply was not changing at all. This is most emblematized by a 1998 statement by the American Petroleum Institute that victory will be achieved in its campaigns when average citizens understand the uncertainties in climate science, and recognition of those uncertainties becomes part of the conventional wisdom. That same document, which API dubbed its communications roadmap with respect to global climate change, went on to say that one goal was to present supporters of the Kyoto Protocol as out of touch with reality. We don't have API membership lists for 1998, but we do have them for 1990. And those membership lists demonstrate that the members in API continued to grow during that period and extended to include Aramco and Statoil and Total, among others. Why is this significant? Because we now have significant evidence that ExxonMobil, Shell, BP, and other major producers of fossil fuels actively promoted climate misinformation efforts that contradicted their own understanding of the climate science. And this matters because it establishes dates by when different companies knew or should have known the risks of their products. The American Petroleum Institute's deep involvement implicates the entire industry and puts the entire industry on constructive notice of this underlying science, and creates a strong presumption that many other API members were involved in these efforts, not just ExxonMobil or Shell. More importantly, attribution science is getting more precise by the day, meaning that the timeline is important in understanding issues of fault and how to apportion damages over time. In Ciel's analysis, and evaluated under the laws of tort, the law of non-contractual responsibility in civil jurisdictions, and international human rights law, there are ample and increasingly abundant grounds to hold fossil fuel companies responsible for the climate crisis. As a result, we are seeing investigations extending far beyond the Philippines. What began in the Philippines with this landmark inquiry now includes active investigations by 2 U.S. states. It includes an investigation that was begun by the United States Securities and Exchange Commission, an ongoing active litigation in Germany, in 13 jurisdictions in 4 U.S. states, in other states in suits brought by investors, and most recently with a notice before action brought by the nonprofit Milieu Defensie against Shell Oil in the Netherlands. Much more fundamentally, and as an ending note, I want to highlight that the Commission has taken a leadership role in this process, but it is not alone. Courts around the world are increasingly asked to consider these issues and to examine the implications of climate change for human rights and human liberties and human lives, and to consider the responsibilities of governments and of corporations in light of those impacts. The decisions you take, the opinions you reach, will inform those cases and help move not only the Philippines, but the world forward on climate. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Carl Moffett. Your Honor, please, may we be allowed to ask a few questions for purposes of elaboration.
Please proceed.
Mr. Carl Moffett, will the corporation's inaction, omission, or denial of responsibility make these corporations liable? What would be our legal basis?
I think the liability begins with a recognition of those elements that I spoke to. We can demonstrate that from a very early stage, decades before anyone really recognized, leading oil companies were well aware of climate risks and the potential risk inherent in their products. And so the question arises, what did they do in light of those risks? Did they warn the public? Did they warn consumers that there were climate risks associated with the use of gasoline and other fuels? Did they deploy at scale the technologies that would have been needed to slow the climate crisis and dramatically reduce emissions when they could have done so? Did they support action to regulate this problem nationally or globally? And over, the evidence in each case points the other way. And much more fundamentally, we can demonstrate that these companies, even as they knew the risks of their products, continued to expand their production of oil to ever greater levels over time. It's important to recognize that more than 50% of all CO2 emitted into the atmosphere was emitted after 1988, by which point the companies had already been on notice of for decades of these risks.
Thank you. Our next question is, based on your research and the evidence of early corporate knowledge of climate risks, what actions could the corporations have taken that you believe they did not?
Yes, and to repeat, I think the first and most immediate action would have been to seek and deploy alternatives to their products. Even before that, the companies could have begun to actively acknowledge the potential climate risks and to warn consumers, investors, and the general public about those risks. This is not only CL's opinion. In 1988, a landmark conference was held in Toronto, Canada. That conference brought together 300 leading scientists, economists, diplomats, lawyers, and business executives from around the world to announce the first climate plan, the climate plan that ultimately led to the creation of the IPCC and the UNFCCC. One element of that plan was an urgent call to action for governments and for corporations to immediately begin labeling their products to acknowledge the climate risks associated with them.
Thank you again, Mr. Carl Moffett. Your Honors, that will be all for Mr. Carl Moffett. Our resource person is now ready to answer your questions, if there are any.
Thank you very much for the information that you shared, Mr. Moffett. I will now invite the members of the panel to field their questions if they have any. Let me start with Com Lea Armamento. Yes, please go ahead.
Mr. Moffett, I'm interested with that landmark summit in Canada. Can you elaborate further on that, and what was the action taken after there was a plan?
Yes, as the summit was the Toronto conference on climate change. The conference outcome was a plan of action that included a number of elements, among them the need to immediately convene what would become the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, and ultimately, it laid the foundations for the negotiation of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, which was completed in 1992.
Thank you very much, but can I have a follow-up question? Because of this plan of action, are the carbon majors given notice or information of their obligations based on the plan of action that came out from the summit? Thank you.
From my perspective, I think the carbon majors had notice of their obligations far earlier. And I think that is inherent in the 1958 document from API's Smoke and Fumes Committee, authored by a Shell oil executive, in which the oil industry acknowledged in a submission to the government that the industry was actively engaging on and treated itself as responsible for the air pollution resulting from the use of its products. I think that the fact that Shell was in 1988 calculating its contribution to global climate impacts from its sold products is still more evidence that companies were well aware of the potential risks. And indeed, other documents disclosed recently from Shell demonstrate that the companies were actively anticipating that if they did not take action on climate change, they could and would be sued.
Thank you. May I know who are the participants in the summit?
The summit and then the Toronto summit was, there were 300 participants. We have searched for a participants list. We have not found a participants list. So which of the oil companies were active at the summit, I cannot speak to.
Thank you very much.
Father Walpole, would you have questions for the witness?
No, I don't have questions. I don't have questions this day. I just appreciate how he has identified where the information started and where, if you like, the shift occurred and the misinformation. So this requires, further reading, further investigation, and exactly what was asked at the beginning, how does this make the companies responsible for individuals, by what individuals have said in the past. But this transition in the corporate dynamic is very important and very helpfully documented. Thank you.
Com Gwen Gana, we'll have some questions, Mr. Moffett, for you.
Just clarification, probably. No, because you were tracing the history of, when knowledge was actually gained by these companies at what point in time. And you have actually been saying that it has always been recommended and realized at that point that there has to be something done. and research further needed to be made. And yet, are you saying that at no particular point did any of the companies actually engage in any further research and made such research into action in order to quell whatever the threats there are to the environment? Thank you.
Yes, it is clear that several of the oil companies funded or directly engaged in climate science. A relevant analysis that was recently done by Naomi Oreskes of Harvard University and her colleague Jeffrey Supran actually compared Exxon's publications of climate science with the public communications and advertisements that it was doing to non-scientific audiences. And what that analysis found, and it looked at more than 186 documents over a period of decades, was that yes, Exxon was engaging in one debate with the scientific community, while simultaneously and very actively emphasizing very different realities to the broader public, whether it was consumers or investors. And generally, the wider the publication, the simpler, the wider the reach of the communication, the more Exxon emphasized that the science was fundamentally uncertain in ways that were inconsistent with what the company was saying internally.
Are you saying, therefore, that there was actually a concerted effort of these companies to misinform the public?
I think that there is
Or
abundant
mislead the public?
evidence. Yes, I think there is abundant evidence of precisely that. And I will say that we didn't put as much of that in our presentation precisely because so much of it was brought to public light over a period of years by so many other researchers. And so we can demonstrate, for instance, that the oil industry, funded denial efforts through an array of funding groups, whether it was the Global Climate Coalition in the 1980s, the European Science and Environment Forum more recently, the Heartland Institute, often in ways that concealed or understated the industry's own funding for the efforts, but all of which tended to promote climate denial, climate uncertainty, and an undervaluation of climate risk, in contradiction and in contrast to what the companies knew to be the case.
Mr. Moffett, again, thank you for testifying today. I hark back to your reference to the study made by Richard Heady and the Climate Accountability Institute. Earlier, one of the members of your organization also testified before this panel that about this study made by Mr. Heady, and I asked if this was subjected to peer review, and she answered in the affirmative. But I would want now to ask details from you. When was this subjected to peer review? Were there responses by the scientific community regarding this study? And could you explain to us the methodology that was used by Mr. Heady in conducting his study?
Yes, I will attempt to do so, and I'll note that Heady's original analysis that was published in 2013, 2014 has subsequently been updated and expanded on now 3 occasions. The first update came from Heady himself. Subsequent updates were done in collaboration with CDP, which is a globally recognized and widely respected organization that works directly with companies to calculate their climate impacts. CDP incorporated Heady's findings and its methodologies and now has an ongoing database that reaches an even larger number of companies. More recently, more recently, HEDI's underlying data and the methodology were incorporated into the paper by Eckwurzel and et al., which is a peer-reviewed paper that was published by the journal Climatic Change in September of 2017. With respect to the underlying methodologies involved, I will do my best to summarize it. I am unfortunately not Rick Hedy, but it's what he did was quite systematically. He went through the annual reports of the companies involved. He went through SEC filings, government filings from other countries where companies were headquartered, and he looked at when mergers happened, when acquisitions of assets happened. And in so doing, he was able to essentially trace the underlying production of major fossil fuels, coal, oil, gas, and cement, all of them primary sources of methane and CO2, to, as I noted, 90 entities, of which 50 were investor-owned companies. That list has now been expanded, as I said, to 100 entities, but the fundamental findings haven't changed.
Thank you very much for that answer. I'm interested in the science of attribution, which you earlier adverted to. Could you explain to us more how these studies are able to attribute their respective contributions to climate change?
Absolutely, and I want to distinguish two categories of attribution science, which are distinct but related. The first is the science of attributing impacts from individual events to climate change. And there we've seen a dramatic acceleration of that science beginning in approximately 2008, 2009, with the work of Miles Allen of Oxford and others, who began to identify direct quantifiable links between the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere and the amount of warming that would occur in the planet. And once you can do that, link the amount of CO2 that's in the atmosphere to a direct consequence for the planet, additional avenues for attribution science were opened up. Building on that research from Miles Allen and others, we've seen growing precision with which, in tracing specific impacts to climate change. The science underlying the case brought by Saul Luciano Luia against carbon major RWE in Germany is emblematic of these developments. With his case, Saul Luciano Luia is a Peruvian farmer who lives outside a city of 100,000 people that is downstream and a very short distance from a glacial dam in the Cordillera Blanca. That dam has increased in volume many thousands of percent since the 1970s, and that increase is entirely attributable to climate change. This is not an assertion that's made by Saul Luciano Luia himself, but it's an assertion that's supported by studies from Peruvian universities, the Peruvian government, the U.S. government agencies, and U.S. universities. And it's supported with very specific geospatial data that would, supporting evidence of the severity and speed of the potential impact. That's one example of how attribution science is working. In a similar ways, we're now able to quantify much more precisely the role of climate change in sea level rise in individual places, the role of climate change in increasing the energy to storms, the role of climate change in increasing incidents of drought and wildfire in key areas, and the severity of those droughts and wildfires. And all of that is allowing us to better separate people who are victims of natural disasters from those many millions who are increasingly victims of unnatural disasters caused or enhanced by climate change. So that's the attribution side on the impact side. On the accountability side, the attribution science built on the work that was done by Rakiti, combined that with the work that was done by Miles Allen and others that traced, the role of individual quantities of CO2 in specific climate impacts, and then connected the CO2 emitted or produced by individual carbon majors to the predictable consequences of that as a result of climate change.
Thank you very much. Could you enlighten us on, or if studies have been made distinguishing man-made contribution and natural contributions to climate change? If you were to be asked regarding the percentages of contribution between natural and man-made causes, would you be able to give us an answer now?
I have to acknowledge that I'm not a climate scientist, and I would prefer a climate scientist to answer that. What I can say as a lawyer is that the human contribution to specific climate impacts is sufficiently significant that it can be quantified, and that the role of climate change in making specific events more likely, making specific impacts more severe, is increasingly traceable. And I'd like to give you an example. When New York and other U.S. cities were struck by a major hurricane a few years ago, the difference between the water from the storm surges rushing up to a street and retreating harmlessly into the sea, and that same water advancing a few more centimeters and rushing into a subway, was literally a matter of centimeters or fractions of a centimeter. And that difference was a difference of billions of dollars in impact. And science is increasingly able to sort out those differences, the difference between what would have been in the realm of a natural occurrence and what is so far outside the norm that it can and should be considered an unnatural occurrence and a consequence of human-caused climate change.
Thank you very much. Are there other questions from the panel? Mr. Moffett, would you be willing to make yourself available on another date to testify before this panel after we have gone through all the documents that have been presented to us?
I would be very happy to make myself available and wherever possible travel to the Philippines to testify in person.
Thank you very much. We understand. What time is it there now in your place?
It is 10:30.
In the evening?
In the evening.
All right. Thank you very much for taking time out to testify before this panel. Counsel, do you have other questions to your witness?
No more, Your Honors. Your Honors, may we respectfully request that Mr. Carl Moffett be excused now.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Moffett, for taking time out to contribute to this dialogue on climate change.
Thank you. It was a privilege to contribute to your work.
Counsels, you may now proceed to your second witness.
Good morning, Your Honors. Your Honors, may we call our second and third witnesses? Mr. Pablo R. Rosales and Mr. Jonathan B. De Los Reyes.
So this is an unusual process that we have adopted in this panel, where two simultaneous witnesses are sitting on the witness stand to sort of support each other and corroborate each other's testimony. This is not a regular court with strict rules of procedure, and in order to facilitate the receiving of information, we have acceded to the request of counsel. So please present your witnesses now.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We request our lawyers, Attorney De La Cruz or Attorney Jose, to swear in the witnesses. All right, counsels, you may now examine your witnesses.
Your Honors, Mr. Pablo R. Rosales is a fisherfolk and chairperson of Pagkakaisa ng mga Samahang Mangingisda, Pangisda, Pilipinas. On the other hand, Mr. Jonathan Delos Reyes is a small business owner who buys directly from fisher folks, what we call consignation. Your Honors, we are calling Mr. Rosales and Mr. Delos Reyes for the following purposes. For Mr. Rosales to share his experience as a fisherman since 8 years old up to the present and how climate change impacted his life and livelihood, including that of his fisherfolk organization. For Mr. Delos Reyes, we are offering his testimony to share his experience as a small business owner buying fish directly from fisher folks and selling the same and how climate change impacted his small business. Your Honors, before we proceed, Your Honor, may I make a manifestation and request, Your Honor? May we be allowed to ask questions in the vernacular, Your Honor, and the language which is more known or known to the witnesses and they're more comfortable with, and for the questions and answers to be recorded verbatim in that language, Your Honor?
Of course, but may we know what language they'll be using?
Filipino, Your Honor.
All right, please go ahead.
And Your Honor, since we learned that we do have an official translator, Your Honor, may we request that the official translator, Your Honor, translate after considerable amount of statements have been uttered or testified to by the witnesses, in order to not to unduly interrupt the narration. And also, we would also request the witnesses and resource persons to speak slowly with pauses so that the official translator can correctly translate the statements.
Where is your translator? Where is our translator? May we request you to come here in front and sit beside or stand beside the witnesses? Can we provide a chair for the witness? Probably here on the right side of the witnesses, so that you can also be seen on the camera. Counsel, you may now begin with your question.
Your Honors, before we proceed, Your Honors, there are two documents that we have submitted by the witnesses, Your Honors. May we be allowed to ask preliminary questions regarding these documents?
Please go ahead.
Magandang umaga ho, Ginoong Pablo Rosales at Ginoong Jonathan De Los Reyes.
Magandang umaga.
Meron po ako ditong, pinapakita ko po sa inyo ang isang dokumento na may pamagat na salaysay ni Ginoong Pablo R. Rosales. 6 na pahina, maaari niyo po bang suriin? At pakisabi ko po kung nakikilala niyo po ang dokumentong ito.
Counsel, can you provide another microphone to the witness because we're not capturing his response to the questions. Pakilakas lang po ng boses niyo para ma-record po natin.
Yes, I can identify the document.
Sa ika-6 na pahina ng dokumentong salaysay ni Ginoong Pablo R. Rosales, mayroong pirma o lagda sa itaas na Pablo R. Rosales, 09 Mayo 2018. Pakisuri po. Nakikilala niyo po ba ang pirmang
Opo,
ito?
pirma ko ito.
Yes, this is my signature.
Excuse me. Please also translate the question, not only the response. No. Counsel, after you ask your question, can you allow the translator to first translate it before
Yes, Your
asking
Honor.
your witness to respond?
Yes, Your Honors. Ginoong Rosales, inyo po bang pinapatotoo ang mga nakasalaysay sa salaysay ni Ginoong Pablo Rosales na 6 na pahina?
Mr. Rosales, do you attest to the truthfulness of this document consisting of 6 pages?
Opo, pinapatunayan ko po.
Yes, ma'am, I attest to that.
Your Honors, for the record, ang salaysay ni Ginoong Pablo R. Rosales was pre-marked during the scheduled pre-marking last May 21 as Exhibit 000 to 000-5. May we request that the signature, which was just identified by the witness, be marked as our Exhibit 000-5A.
For the record, Your Honor, the testimony of Mr. Rosales consisting of 6 pages was pre-marked as Exhibit 000 up to 000-5.
For the second document, Ginoong Jonathan B. de los Reyes, meron po akong dokumento na pinamagatang salaysay ni Ginoong Jonathan B. de los Reyes, 4 na pahina. Maaari niyo po suriin ito?
I have here a 4-page document denominated as the affidavit of Mr.
Jonathan de los Reyes.
de los Reyes. Can you identify this, sir?
Opo, sa akin po yun.
Yes, ma'am, this is my affidavit.
Sa ika-4 na pahina, mayroong lagda sa taas na pangalang Jonathan B. de los Reyes, nilagdaan noong Mayo 15, 2018. Maaari niyo po bang kumpirma? Maaari niyo po bang tignan ang pirmang ito at pakitukoy kung kaninong pirma ito?
Sa akin po pirma ito.
On the last page is a signature. Can you identify this signature? Answer was, this is my signature.
Pinapatotoo niyo po ba, Ginoong de los Reyes, ang laman ng salaysay na ito?
Do you attest to the truthfulness of the contents of this document?
Opo.
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honors, for the record, salaysay ni Ginoong Jonathan B. de los Reyes, consisting of 4 pages, was pre-marked on May 21 as Exhibit PP to PP-3. May we request that the signature of Mr. Reyes, de los Reyes, on page 4 be marked now as Exhibit PPP-3-A. Your Honors, at this juncture, Mr. Rosales will now present the highlights or summary of his statement. Mr. Rosales, please proceed.
Pwede na po kayo magsalita, Mr. Rosales.
Una sa lahat po, bumabati ako ng magandang umaga sa ating mga kagalang-galang na commissioner, sa ating mga kasama na nasa loob ng bulwagang ito. Ganon din po sa mga nanonood sa atin sa ating ginagawang pagtitipon. Magandang umaga sa inyo.
Magandang umaga rin.
First of all, I would like to greet the honorable commissioners in this panel and also our viewers and audience. Good morning.
Mayroon ng huminto eh. Sige po. Magsisimulan ko po yung aking salaysay kaugnay ng aking buhay sa pangisdaan. No? Nagsimula po akong mangisda ako nga po pala si Pablo Rosales, tagapangulo ng pagkakaisa ng mga samahan ng mangisda sa Pilipinas na ang acronym niya ay Pangisda Pilipinas. Itinatag po ito noong 1998 at ako ho ay naging bahagi nito sa buong panahon hanggang sa kasalukuyan. At ako ho ang tumayong tagapangulo 2 taon na makalipas ho noong naging pangulo ako itong 2016. Sisimulan ko po yung aking kwento nung ako ay bata pa na simulang mangisda, 8 taong gulang, kasama ng tatay ko. Doon po ako isinilang sa Katbalogan, Samar. At ang amin pong kabuhayan ay nagmumula sa pagbubungkal ng lupa o pagsasaka at nasa tabing dagat din po kami kaya pangingisda at magsasaka po ang aming buhay. Ako po noon ay nag-aral hanggang ng grade 2 tapos nung sumama na po ako sa pangingisda, nahinto na po ako sa pag-aaral sa tatay ko. Nahinto na ako sa pag-aaral at sumama na lang ako sa pangingisda. Makalipas, haba pala.
Let me inform everybody that I am a fisherman. My name is Pablo Rosales. I was born in Catbalogan. I started with the association, ano po yung pangalan?
Pagkakaisa ng mga
samahan ng
mangingisda.
Samahan ng mga mangingisda with acronym Pangisda. I headed the organization and I have been with the organization from the start in 1998. I now am the head of the organization for the past 2 years already. I was born in Catbalogan. My parents and I lived near the shore. I started fishing at the tender age when I was in grade 2. By then, I had to stop studying already.
Sumama po ako sa pangingisda. Ang amin nung gamit pangingisda ay bisagwan lang. Malaot kami umalis kami alas 4 madaling araw, dumarating kami sa laot ng magliliwanag. At pagdating ng tanghali, umuwi din po kami dahil bisagwan. Nahabol namin makarating ang isda ng maaga pa sa tabi. Yun po yung aming disagwan lang kami ng tatay ko sa panahong yon doon sa Samar.
Me and my father use paddle boat only when we go fishing. We usually start at 4 in the morning and make sure we are there already before dawn. And we make sure that the catch will be available by noontime.
Marami na ho kami nahuhuli nun sa ganong kaiksing oras na malapit lang, sa disagwan lang naabot. Pero hindi ho kami nagtagal doon kasi ang aming pamilya ay siyempre naghahanap ng pagunlad at karoon ho kami ng balita na sa Luzon o sa Manila ay medyo makipagsapalaran para sa pag-uunlad. Kaya nung ding taong yon, bago pa ay lumipat kami papuntang Luzon. Ang una ho namin tiniran sa Luzon ay sa Cavite, sa Binakayan, Cavite.
We can only catch very small amount in a very short time. Not long after, since we heard that there could be a better life for us either in Manila or Luzon, and since we were looking for a better life, we decided to move in to Luzon, particularly in Cavite.
Excuse me, Counsel. The translator is having a hard time. In fact, I noticed that the translation was not very accurate. The first part was not accurately captured. May you signal the witness to stop at a certain point so that our translator would not have a difficult time translating.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor, we will do as requested.
Ayun nga, pag lumipat kami galing sa probinsya at napunta kami sa Luzon sa paghahangad na magkaroon ng kaunlaran, pero dumating ho kami sa Cavite ay sa usapin pa rin ho ng pangisdaan kami. Nangunguhaw kami ng talaba at saka naninisid po kami ng aruset o yung halamang dagat.
Because we wanted a better future, we moved into Luzon and sought a better life, and we were able to. We went to Cavite. Still, fishing was our main source of income. We gathered oysters, and seaweeds.
At kung wala hong, halimbawa, masama ang panahon, obliga ho kaming ako partikular, maglinis ng jeep at pumasok ng pinboy sa isang bulingan para lang ho kumita ng konti at pandagdag doon sa aming pangailangan.
And in times when weather is bad, I would clean jeepneys and act as a pinboy in bowling
Bowling sa
in
bowling.
bowling alleys.
O yun, di rin kami nagtagal, almost isang taon lang ang buhay namin sa Binakayan. Nabalitaan ho, meron ho kaming kakilala na nakapagbalita na maganda ang panghuli ng isda sa Bataan. Kaya ho, lumipat din kami sa Bataan.
Not long after, particularly about a year after, we heard from a friend that there is a better fishing in Bataan. So we transferred to Bataan.
Sa Maribeles po kami bumagsak, bahagi ito ng Manila Bay, no? Itong particular na bayang ito, doon ho kami nagsimulang mangisda at disagwan ho uli ang aming ginamit sa pangisda.
We went to Maribeles, which is a stretch from the Manila Bay, and we also did paddled fishing in that area.
Ang aming paraan ng pangisda ay hook and line o kawil, pangangawil ng isda. Tapos ang amin hong pag-alis, ganun din kung madaling araw, bago pumutok ang araw, nandun na kami sa lugar na aming gustong pangisda.
We used hooks and lines as fishing implements, and just like before, we would leave very early before dawn.
Yun, ang aming hinuhuli, magandang isda, mga talakitok at iba pang mga commercial na isda dahil selective po yung paraan ng panghuli namin kawil kasi sa tanghali pa lang, umuwi na ho kami, nakakapagbenta na kami ng isda sa napakamurang halaga noong taong 1970. 70 po, 1970.
We were able to catch good kinds of fish like talakitok and other commercial fish. And by lunchtime, we are able to go home already and sell our produce. And the price for produce was very low then in the 1970s.
Itong pangingisda namin, hindi na ako nakapag-aral. Ito na ho yung naging buhay ko. Sumama sa tatay ko. At kaya yung buong panahon ko ay naigugol sa pangingisda. Nasubaybayan namin kung paano ang naging takbo ng ating pangingisdaan.
I was not able to go to school anymore. I spent life with my father as a fisherman. And all this time, I have known how the fishing industry has become.
Noong una, ang paraan namin napakalapit lang, pero unti-unti hong lumalayo ang aming pangingisda at unti-unti hong tumatagal ang aming pag-stay sa dagat hanggang sa isang panahon dumadayo na kami sa malayo at tumatagal na kami ng 1 hanggang 3 araw sa laot at tinatakbo ang lugar na yon sa halos 3 hanggang 6 na oras bago ka makarating.
It was easier before. The manner was easier. But now we have to go farther. Sometimes we have to go other places and stay for 1 to 3 days fishing.
Yun, resulta ho yun ng paghahangad na namin ng makahuli kasi hindi na kami nakakahuli sa malapit kaya lumalayo na kami. Pagdating namin sa bandang laot po ay nandoon naman ang iba naming mga kakompetensya. Andyan ang commercial fishing na malalaki.
And because we want to get good catch, we have to go farther into the sea. But as we go farther, that's when we see already the commercial fishers.
Yun, kaya sa panahon no, nasa malayo kami, pero ang kadalasan namin pinangingisdaan ng Manila Bay. Kasi noong panahon yon, marami pa rin hong nahuhuli sa loob ng Manila Bay.
We would go far, but at that time, we were also fishing within the Manila Bay, and at that time, there was still good produce from the Manila Bay.
Noong panahon ho kasi ng mga 1975 hanggang 1980s ay napakarami pa hong isda sa loob ng Manila Bay dahil mayroon pa hong mga bahura. Ang mga bahura o mga coral reefs kumbaga.
From the 1975 up to the 80s, there was still a good catch in the Manila Bay because there were still corals.
Ang tinutukoy ko hong coral reefs ito yung mga barkong lubog na resulta ng digmaan sa Manila Bay, yung Second World War. May mga barkong lumubog dyan na nagsilbi ng tirahan ng isda. Kaya yun ang aming pinupuntahan, doon kami nangangawin.
I refer to the sunken ships or vessels during the during World War II as the corals, at the coral reefs.
Kaya lang sa pagsulong din ho ng panahon, ang mga corals na ito ay naubos. No? Ginawa hong hanap buhay, in-scrap ng mga scrapper. O di siyempre, dinidilamita ang ilalim para maghiwa-hiwala yung bakal, ikinakarga sa barge, pinapakilo sa tabi ng dagat.
In time, these coral reefs were already used as scrap, and there was sometimes they blow out dynamites under to be able to get the scrap.
Yan, yung sa ganong, hanggang sa naubos po yung mga corals natin, tapos kung titingnan po kami sa aming karanasan, doon din sa Manila Bay, kahalo namin ang iba't ibang klase ng mga isda kasama ang mga small commercial fishing na mas mabilis manghuli kumpara sa amin.
So there were no more the coral reefs were lost already by that time, and by my experience, we were able to fish also with some small commercial fishermen.
Commercial fishing. Sabihin, vessels, mga vessels.
With some small commercial fishing vessels.
Bilang kakompetensya po ng mga maliliit na mga isda. Isang lugar na pinangisdaan, maliit kami, malaki sila, nag-uunahan kami doon sa talo ho kami mga maliliit na mga isda.
These commercial fishing vessels were competition to us, being small fishermen.
Ito ay mga problemang kinaharap namin kasabay nung aming pagtingin at pagkatuklas at sa aming pagsubaybay sa pangisdaan. Nung pagdumi na ng dagat, pagkalaso na ng maraming pangyayari tulad halimbawa 1990s, unang nagkaroon ng iskil na malakihan dito sa Manila Bay.
Those were some of the problems we were able to observe and discover. Including the pollution of the seas, and other issues which also include the fish kill in the 1980s.
At dito rin lumitaw ang red tide sa panahong to. Nagugulat kami kasi noong una wala namang red tide sa Manila Bay, pero pagdating ng 1990s, kala namin isang simpleng kalamidad lang ito sa Manila Bay, kaya medyo nagkaroon pa ng relief operation ng gobyerno noon para tulungan ng mga biktima.
That was when red tide also became an issue. There was no red tide before, and then can you repeat your last statement, sir?
Yung red tide wala naman yan dati, tapos akala namin isang pangkaraniwang kalamidad lang o pangkaraniwang insidente. At nagkaroon din naman ng tulong ng gobyerno doon, nagkaroon ng relief operation para sa mga naapektuhan ng red tide.
We thought red tide was just a simple calamity or problem, and there was even an investigation as regard relief operations as to that problem.
O yun, kaya lang itong red tide na to ay naging taon-taon na. Parang normal calamity na ang nangyari. Kaya ang ginagawa ng gobyerno, maghanda na lang kayo dahil may red tide, huwag kayong kakain ng tahong, huwag kayong kakain ng talaba, huwag kayong kakain ng hipon, huwag kayong kakain ng alimasag.
And eventually, red tide became an annual problem in the seas, and there was only some warnings from the government for people not to eat sea produce if there is a red tide.
Yun, bahagi yun ang aming naging problema. Tapos yung pagkakaroon na nung regular na tinatawag na pagbabago ng timpla ng tubig. Yung taon-taon mayroong tinatawag na laginlin o iskil na nagaganap sa Manila Bay.
And then there was also the regular
iskil at saka laginlin ang tawag sa amin pagbabago ng timpla ng tubig. Laginlin.
The regular test of the waters, and there's one thing we call as laginlin which is fish kill.
Sa pagka nangyayari yon, nagkakaroon ng laginlin at fish kill. Pagkatapos, ibig sabihin, mamamatay yung mga mababagal tumakbo kasi bago ang tubig, yung isda na matulin, nakakaiwas, nakakapaghanap ng mas malinis. Pero ang madadaan ng tahong, talaba, at iba pang mga klase ng isda ay namamatay.
So whenever there is a fish kill, the kinds of fish that can escape the area where there is a fish kill can escape the problem. Otherwise, they get killed.
Hindi, namamatay po.
Okay. So, sea produce, particularly oysters, clams, mussels are the first ones to die.
Ito, pagkatapos ho ng ganitong klase ng tubig, walang mahuhuling isda halos isang linggo. Ibig sabihin, zero ang mangingisda sa paligid na yon dahil dun sa pagkamatay ng isda at paglayo ng ibang isda.
About a week after there is a change in the waters and there is a fish kill, there can be any there aren't any fish in the area because they avoid after the fish kill?
Hindi po. Pagkatapos ng fish kill, halos 1 week wala hong isda. Walang mahuli ang mga isda. Babalik lang yon ng unti-unti makalipas ang isang linggo.
Excuse me, Counsel, can you have shorter cuts? Because as you notice, the translator is still having a hard time. It's too long. Yeah, that you should cut him quicker, or I will just and it's not facilitative. Maybe can I suggest now that you just allow him to continue with his testimony because it's not being translated accurately anyway. No, it's not your fault. The counsel is not able to properly guide and pace the witness, and it's difficult for the translator. So at this point, I would just suggest that he be allowed to proceed with his testimony without any translation, and we will just come out with an official translation later on. It's confusing even to the panel. If you cannot control the testimony of the witness such that we will have a good translation, we'll just allow him to proceed with his testimony. What is your preference?
Yes, Your Honor, we submit to that suggestion, Your Honors.
That he will just be allowed to proceed with his testimony without any translation. And the records later on will just reflect, okay, the translation.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes. The translator is now excused.
Bahagi po nung pagbabagong napansin namin sa Manila Bay, sa pangisdaan, nung pagbabago ng timpla ng tubig na lumilikha ng pagkamatay ng isda at paglayo ng mga isda. Ito ay nagaganap taon-taon sa tuwing sasapit ang buwan ng Mayo. Ang Mayo ay matapos ang tag-init, tapos biglang bubuhos ng ulan, magsasanib ang tubig tabang mula sa ilog patungo sa dagat, lilikha ito ng fish kill. Pagkamatay ng mga isda dahil yung timpla ay magbabago, magkakaroon ng epekto sa mga organismo na nabubuhay doon sa lugar na yun. Isa itong taon-taon na naming nararanasan, partikular sa Manila Bay. Makikita rin namin ang mabilis na pagdami ng basura na mas halos minsan mas marami pa ang nahuhuling basura kaysa sa isda ng mga mamamante, ng mga miyembro nating mamamante. Dahil ang basura kung sa Manila Bay natin titingnan yan, pag naglakad kayo sa National Capital Region sa coastal, wala kayong maaapakang lupa. Puro basura. Pag gumanon ka ng papuntang Bulacan hanggang Bataan, medyo matindi ang mga basurang naandyan. Pangalawa, ang iba pang kapansin-pansin ho sa Manila Bay ay yung paglubog ng mga bahay, partikular sa bayan ng Ubando at ng iba pang area ang Nabotas, kahit ang Nabotas po, high tide pa lang lumulubog na. Tinutubig na ang ang Malabon at ng Nabotas. Ang Ubando, ang dati nilang mga second floor ngayon ay first floor na. Kasi kinain na ng tubig ang dati nilang first floor. Kaya ang ilalim noon ay tubig na. At ang mga kalsada nagtataasan, naiiwan ang mga tahanan. Kaya hindi ibig sabihin, pagtaas ng kalsada, mapupunta ang tubig sa ibaba ng sa mga bahay. Itong pagbabagong ito ay nasundan natin dahil doon sa buhay natin ay naandyan na sa pangingisda. At nakita rin natin ang malalang polusyon na mula sa iba't ibang industriya sa paligid ng Manila Bay. Halimbawa ho sa Bataan, nagsimula po ang pollution noong mag-boom ang Bataan Export Processing Zone at tumaas na patungong Limay, sa Lamao, Limay, patungo sa itaas ang mga pabrika na ang tanging tapunan ho nila ng tubig, ng dumi ay ang ating Manila Bay. Itong sitwasyong to ay nakita namin na nag-contribute ng pagkonti ng aming huli, pagliit ng aming kita, at paghinto ng aming mga anak. Maraming mga anak ng mangingisda ang hindi na nakakapag-aral. Sumasama na lang sa laot para makatulong sa pamilya. Minsan dahil ang bangka ng isang mangingisdang mahirap ay bisagwan lang o di motor, yung ama at saka yung anak at yung iba pang anak ay sumasama naman sa mga small commercial fishing. Ito yung mga nagkakaedad ng 13 hanggang 16, sumasama na doon sa mga small commercial na ang paraan ng partihan ay pag may huli, may parte. Pag wala, wala. Ang partihan ho sa mga commercial fishing ay tanggalin ang gastos, tapos hahatiin ang biyak 50-50, ang 50 mapupunta sa may-ari, ang 50 paghahatian ng halos 60 katao. Sa 60 katao na yon, magkakaiba ang parte. Ang pinakamaliit yung isang parte, minsan may kalahati pa. Kasi nagsisimula po sa 3 kalahati, 2 kalahati, 2, 1 kalahati, 1. O siyempre, mayroon hong ranking yon. Ang kawawa, yung mga mangingisdang mga bata na sumasama sa ganong klase ng ganong paraan. Naobliga sila dahil wala naman hong pagkakitaan. Ang isa pang hinahabol nila doon, pag wala silang labas, mayroon silang malalapitan, mahihingan ng tulong para sa bigas kahit ito ay utang, pero tatanggalin din sa kanila sa panahon ng makahuli sila. Itong karanasan sa pangisdaan ay nagtuloy-tuloy. No? Marami hong sa Manila Bay ho, halos 100,000 ang mangingisdang maasa dyan sa ating pangisdaan. Pero yung katangian ng isda at hinuhuli ay hindi nasasapat para sa mga mangingisda. Kaya nga ang isang pagtingin namin, kailangang lutasin talaga ang problema sa pangisdaan tulad ng illegal fishing, commercial fishing, tapos yung malalang polusyon, yung malalang mga basura, at saka yung pagtukoy doon sa epekto ng pagbabago ng klima. Yung pagtaas ng tubig, pag-init ng dagat, at yung pagkakalbo ng ating mga bakawanan. Sa Manila Bay po, mayroon pong 54,000 hectares noong 1920, sabi ng datos. Pero ngayon, nasa 1,000 lang, o almost mga 100 plus na lang. O 100 hectares na lang ang natitira sa Manila Bay ng mga bakawanan. Kaya nga itong sitwasyong ito ay pagka dumarating ang mga sakuna na hindi naman pangkaraniwan, sabi nga namin, bakit ba ngayon may signal number 4 na? Samantalang noon, yung signal number 3 bihirang tumama sa Pilipinas. Pero ngayon, pag tumama ay halos maubos ang mga kabahayan sa tabing dagat at pati ang mga kagamitan ng mangingisda ay nasisira. Dahil ang mga mangingisda nakatira naman talaga sa tabing dagat at katabi niya rin ang kanyang kagamitan sa pangingisda. Kaya pag lumalakas ang bagyo, lumalaki ang alon, masisira si bangka, masisira si bahay, mawawalan kami ng hanap buhay. Eh wala naman, ang isang mabigat pa nga, dahil kami ay mga mangingisda, wala naman kaming tiyak na tirahan ang sinasabi, danger zone yung kinalalagyan ninyo, kaya ang tendensiya, linisin kami, dalhin kami sa malayong lugar, sa ngalan ng pagliligtas di umano sa amin sa kapahamakan, dahil sa danger zone yan at nagbago na ang klima, malalakas ang bagyo, malalakas ang alon, dapat umalis kayo dyan. Ang problema, mangingisda kami. Mas pag marami na ho kaming karanasan na ang iba namin kasama ay na na evacuate na po. Napunta sa paanan ng bundok ng Bulacan, sa bundok ng Cavite. Ang tendensiya, bumabalik sa coastal, nakatira sa mga bangka. Doon nagbububong, doon sila natutulog, tapos pagka uuwi din sila doon sa kanilang bahay, sa Cavite or sa Bulacan. Minsan, hindi natatagalan, ibinebenta na lang si bahay na nasa Bulacan at saka si bahay na nasa Cavite para lang mangisda. Ito pong tingin namin ang paglala ng hirapan sa mangisda ay nakatulong ng malaki sa paglala ang pagbabago ng klima. Tinatanggalan kami ng tahanan, mapagkakaitan kami ng kabuhayan dahil doon sa pag-init ng tubig, pagkakaroon ng laginlin, pagkakaroon ng piskil. Siyempre, yun ang aming kabuhayan. Kapag may mga ganon, medyo may problema kami. Kaya kung kami nagsimula akong mamulat na mag-organisa ng mangisda ng 1984. Hindi nahirapan yung nag-organisa sa akin dahil nasubaybayan ko yung aming kalagayan ng pangisdaan. Nasabi niya sa amin kung ano ang tunay na problema, sino ang may dulot nito. At ang noong panahon yun, hindi pa namin pinag-uusapan ng climate change. Basta nakakaranas kami ng iba't ibang problema sa pangisdaan, minsan ang nasisisi namin, yung kapwa namin mangingisda na gumagamit ng illegal na paraan ng pangisda. Lilitaw ngayon itong mga 90s hanggang 2000 ang bagong usapin ng pagbabago ng klima, yun na yung pagtaas ng tubig, pag-init ng dagat, pagkamatay ng isda na regularly taon-taon na. Kaya medyo ang amin hong organisasyon ay nagko-contribute sa ganitong pagsisikap. Minsan tumutulong kami sa pagtanim ng mga bakawanan. At minsan nalulungkot kami dahil maraming programa ang gobyerno sa reforestation sa coastal pero nakukurap lang, napupunta ito sa hindi tamang pangasiwa, itatanim pero hindi mapapangalagaan, mamamatay. Pero kung ito sana ay maibibigay sa mga isda dahil mga isda naman ay seryoso ang pangalagaan ng kanyang karagatan dahil yun ay pinagmumulan ng kabuhayan niya, matitiyak na mapoprotektahan ang mga proyektong may kaugnayan sa pagpigil di umano o pagbabawas man lang ng pag-init ng klima o yung pagbabago ng klima. Ngayon ang aming totoo naman na pagtitingnan namin napakaliit ng aming contribution doon sa pagbabago ng klima. Marami pa nga sa amin mga gumagamit pa ng bisagwan at mayroon pang bangka ngayon na ang sinasakyan lang ay balsa, nangingisda sa laot, nakabalsa. Gumagamit ng motor, pero kung ikukumpara ang maliliit na mangingisda sa malalaking mangingisda, mas malakas ang kanilang ginagamit ng mga makina. At kung ikukumpara ang carbon o tinatawag na carbon dioxide na binubuga ng aming mga makina, doon sa mga tambutso ng mga industriya sa Bataan, na pagkalalaki, kanina ang banggit nga, malalaki naman talaga ang nag-contribute ng sa Bataan, makikita nyo, ang lahat ng pabrika doon nagbubuga ng usok. Parang kung kailangan, kung seryoso kaming lutasin natin ang problema sa pangisdaan dahil patuloy ang pagliit ng huli, patuloy ang pagtanggi ng mga maraming anak ng mangingisda na ayaw na nilang mangisda. Tulad nga may anak ko akong 2 lalaki. Ayaw hong mangisda, ginugusto pa mag-construction boy. Hindi rin naman nakapag-aral, mas construction boy ang gusto. Dahil doon sa napakahirap ng buhay ng mangisda at walang katiyakan ang pangisda. Pero sa tingin namin kung malulutas ang problema sa pangisdaan, tulad halimbawa, marirehabilitate natin, mapapanumbalik natin ang yaman ng pangisdaan. Kung ngayon nga po ay mayroon tayong, ayon sa BIPAR, mayroon tayong 1.8 million na rehistradong mangingisda. Kapag nagpatuloy ang pagresolba sa problema ng pangisdaan at magiging productive uli ito, hindi kami magiging problema ng pamahalaan at hindi kami magiging dagdag sa mga walang hanap buhay sa ating lipunan. Kasi ang maunlad na pangisdaan, siya mismo ay kabuhayan namin at mapapakain namin ang aming pamilya, mapag-aaral namin ang aming mga anak, mapapakain pa namin ang mamamayan. kasi magdadala kami ng isda sa ating merkado. Kami ang magdadala ng isda sa mga konsignasyon. Kung titingnan ho natin, nakakatakot kapag hindi naharap ang problema sa pagbabago ng klima na sumisira sa ating kalikasan dahil baka mawalan na tayo ng likas yaman, mawala na yung mga isda. Nakakatakot ho doon yung isdang kakainin natin dahil hindi naman maiwasang di tayo kumain ng isda ay ang tagahuli Taiwanese, Chinese o Vietnamese o kaya Koreano. Ibig sabihin mga imported na isda na ang kakainin natin na malaganap naman na ngayon sa Pilipinas. Kaya ho kami nakikipagkaisa kami doon sa pagtulungan nating iresolbahin ang issue ng pagbabago ng klima. Kung hindi natin kaya sa Pilipinas, di singilin natin yung mga, ibig sabihin, dapat pagbayarin naman yung dati ng nakinabang. Yung mga na sumira sa kalikasan na ngayon ay pagkayayaman batay sa presentation, pagbayarin natin sila at pangunahan nila ang pagresolba sa pagbabago ng klima, suportahan nila ang effort ng sektor, halimbawa ng mga isda na magkaroon ng mga proyekto para makapag-ambag man lang sa pagbabawas ng carbon na nagpapainit sa ating mundo. Kaya ho, kung kami nagpapasalamat kami sa pagkakaroon ng ganitong mga pagtitipon para ma-voice out namin ng aming pagtingin doon sa pagbabago ng klima, iba pang problema sa pangisdaan. At masabi namin na handa kaming tumulong, handa kaming makipagkaisa sa anumang pagsisikap na itutulak natin doon sa pagresolba sa problema sa pagbabago ng klima. Yun po, parang kung mayroon hong di tanong na lang po natin kung ano yung kulang na gusto nyong malaman. Salamat po.
Maraming salamat, Ginoong Rosales. Your Honors, may we proceed with the third witness before we ask questions later on.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Ginoong De Los Reyes, maaari na po kayong mag-umpisa magsalaysay.
Magandang araw po sa ating lahat. Ako po si Jonathan De Los Reyes, namamahala po ng maliit na negosyo ng aming pamilya kung saan po ang tsura po ng negosyo ay binabagsakan po kami ng mga mangingisda ng isda, gaya po ng kwento ni Kapabs. Mangyayari po pagka bumagsak po sa amin ng isda, sa amin po ang wholesale, nagkakaroon po ng bidding dyan kung saan po yung mga biyahero na taga sa amin or taga ibang lugar, ibabiyahe papuntang Malabon, papuntang Navotas, papuntang Cavite, papuntang Pampanga. Gano'n na rin po doon sa lokal naming merkado, yung mga tindera po namin doon, o kung tawagin po namin ay regaton, namumulong din po sila nagbibid doon sa paano mo ina-assume na mabibili, magkano mo ina-assume na mabibili o magiging mabili sa araw na yon. So, parang sa amin, kami as consignee, pinapautang namin yung mga isda. Yung mga isda, pagka may mga utang yan, dahil minsan, halimbawa, wala po silang panggastos, pambili ng gasolina, pambili po ng yelo, o nasira po ang kanilang lambat, tumutulong po ang konsignasyon doon dahil hindi naman po gumigit na ang gobyerno para riyan. Ngayon po, kapalit po noon, sa amin po sila magdadala. Bali, ang extension po ng aming negosyo, yung po mga tindera sa loob ng palengke at saka yung mga biyahero, kukuha po yun doon ng, hindi naman po sila namumuhunan, bubulong lang po yun doon. So, kananalo sila sa bidding, dadalhin na po nila yun. Tapos, kinabukasan na po ang bayad noon pagka nakapaubos na po sila ng mga kalakal nila. Ito bali paliliitin ko lang rin po muna yung scope nung ano namin, ilalagay ko lang po muna doon sa usapin ng huli sa dagat kasi meron din po dinadala sa amin sa tabang yung mga cultured, yung mga tilapia. Doon ko bibigyan din ko po yung sa huli sa dagat. Ang una po kasi namin si Papa po nanggaling po ng abroad tapos mga naki-sideline ng mga negosyo bago pa kami magkaroon ng pwesto ng konsignasyon. Palagi ko kasama si Papa doon sa sinasabi ni Kapabs na nagpapalutang ng mga bakal kasi parang nagti-treasure hunt yun. May mga dating mga plato ng mga incheck na mga dinadala sa amin noon, mga lumang chessboard po na nanggaling po sa sa dagat. Palagi ko sira yung mga bahura doon, yung mga coral reefs. Pero parang ganun po, sosyo-sosyo po sa mga politiko, ganun po. Tapos po, ahente po siya ng soft drinks. Ayun nga po, kung hindi po kakinisan yung mukha ko, minsan po mga tama po yan ng mga boteng pumuputok doon po sa likuran kasi ako ng truck. Sumasama po ako pag Sabado Linggo. Papa, paalisin mo na yung tagahakot mo, ako na lang ako magbubuhat. Kasi po, sa sobrang init naman po, nasa likuran ako ng truck. Pag nang pumutok po yung boteng gano'n, basag yung bote, tumama sa mukha, tumama po sa balat ko. Ganun talaga. Si tatay ko naman po, na-stroke po, inatake sa sobrang init. O kaya nag-ship po siya ng negosyo kung saan uupo na lang po siya. Later, hindi niya na rin po kinaya, so ako na po yung magmamanage ng konsignasyon. Ang status po ng konsignasyon, hinawakan ko po to 2003. Ang pusit po noon, namumuhunan lang ng pusit tunay po. Ito po yung masarap na adobo, maliit na pusit to. Marami po kasing klase ng pusit. Pusit panghe, pusit royal, may pusit lumot, may pusit tunay, may pusit ballpen. Ayan po, may pusit bisaya. Yung pusit tunay po, that time, yan po yung masarap. Ngayon po, 280 ang kilo nun sa amin. Yung dati po, 2003, inabot ko po yung price na 80. Halimbawa po, sa isang araw, bebenta kami ng 40,000. Ang presyo, ang halaga naman po ang volume po noon, ng 40,000, dahil sa mura po ng isda, hindi po kagaya ng ngayon na per kilo dinadala. Dati parang bulk, yung bultuhan, yung halimbawa po isang cooler na naglalaman ng 60 to 70 kilos, pabubulungan nyo, nakukuha ng 3,000. Nagpa-price na ngayon po ng mga 15,000 yun, isang ganun po. So yung comparative po doon sa halimbawa po yung nagiging benta namin noong 2003 at saka yung volume po ng ngayon po, pagka makikita mo nagpapang-abot lang po yung kanilang value, pero yung volume nung nadala nung araw at saka yung ngayon, ibig sabihin po kukunti yung ngayon, medyo mataas po ang presyo. Yun po, doon ko po umpisahan. Nung araw po kasi, sabi nila tatay ko, lahat daw po nung mga bundok na nakikita ko na may subdivision, dati nilang sinasaka. Ngayon, mga subdivision na po sila. Dati daw po, sa kasaganaan ng Rosales, lumakad ka lang ng konti, pag nag-angat ka ng bato, may lobster na po. Kaya totoo po yung sinasabi ni Kapabs na maunlad po talaga ang hulihan ng isda sa Rosales area. Hindi po nagugutom ang mga taga Maribeles. Ngayon po, dahil dinevelop po siya para maging economic zone, actually, ang mga naging pabrika niya ay nakatuon sa manufacturing. Mas ang naging problema lang po namin yung waste na industrial, hindi pa po siya industrial waste. Pare na po industrial waste, pero hindi po yan kagaya ng industrial waste na kagaya po sa Limay ngayon, kasi ang Limay ngayon, mga industriya to hindi po manufacturing. Magkaiba po yun. Kaya iba yung waste nila sa waste namin. Mas sa amin, yung mga goma, yung mga plastic, iyan po. Kasi yung dati po, halimbawa, gumagamit kami ng banga, ngayon plastic na. Dati gumagamit kami ng mga kawayan, o yung mga karaniwan natin ginagamit na iyan naman ay kinakain din ng lupa. Pinapalitan na po natin yan dahil nga syempre pinapagaan naman po ng kaunting kaalaman natin sa teknolohiya at siyensya yung ating pamumuhay. Akala natin maganda, so gamit tayo ng plastic, gamit tayo ng ganyan. Gumamit din tayo syempre ng elektrisidad, na gumagamit din ng gasolina o ng ano pa mang mga fuel, energy. Kaya nga po, dumami rin po yung tao sa Maribeles. So, naging problema po dyan yung basura at polusyon. Sa pagdami din po nung tao, kailangan nyo pong kalbuhin yung bundok para gawing daanan, gawing sigsag, gawing pabahay. Dumating din po kami sa point na pati po itong mga nakakabalita na maunlad ng Maribeles. So, nagkaroon din ng mangingisda. Dati po wala naman gaanong mangingisda sa Maribeles. Ang tao lang po dyan, malalakad lang, meron na mahuhuli. Hindi po talaga sila mangingisda. Mas po sila talagang farmers. Ngayon, dumating po nga yan, yung mga, kung tawagin po nila papaya nung araw, mga Bisaya, yung mga Bisaya, ayan. Tapos, kaya po may culture sa amin na, pag taga Maribeles, hindi po yan tatanggapin sa pabrika basta-basta. Kasi yan po sumakit ang kuko, hindi napapasok. Kasi po katwiran na may nanay silang kalapitan. Yung mga dayo, yun ang kinukuha sa pabrika dahil yan masipag. Dahil walang tatakbuhan yan eh. Walang mga lupa yan doon. Papasok at papasok yan sa oras ng pabrika. So, yun po ang culture ng Maribeles kung mapapansin nyo. Kaya halimbawa po kami, nagsettle po kami sa ganyang mga business, yung laging nasa sentro. Soft drinks, kasi yan po yung sa pag ano po ng isda, pag buy and sell, parang ganun po. Ang kapansin-pansin po dito nung mula 2003 hanggang po sa ngayon, yung mga anak po ng mangingisda, hindi na po nangingisda kasi iba nagpapabrika na lang po dahil hindi nga po regular ang kita. Yung iba naman po, halimbawa po, nalaot pa ang mga yan ng signal number 1, signal number 2, panis yan nung araw. Eh ngayon po, parang humangin ng konti, takot na yan, hindi na po maglalautan. So ang kahulugan po sa amin noon, wala kaming kita dahil walang magdadala. Yun din pong usapin ng coastline po namin ngayon na pinagbibili po ng San Miguel, pinagbibili ng mga coal plants, ay nagpapasikip din po doon sa kalagayan ng mga mangingisda. Kasi nga po, yung mangingisda, gaya po sabi ni Kapab, saan mo dadalhin yan? Pag binili mo na isang coastline na doon sila naninirahan, ay mangingisda yan. Ang tugo niyan, mangisda. Tapos dadalhin mo sa isang resettlement area na wala namang isda, ang nandoon ay batuhan. So, yun. Sa amin ho, naiintindihan ko yung kalagayan ng mga isda, pero kung sa amin naman ho, sumisikip din po ang mundo namin noon dahil nawawalan din po kami ng kita. Bukod nga po doon sa mga naging natural na, gaya sinasabi ni Kapablo, pag may red tide, o pag may lumubog na barko dahil sumama ang panahon, 7 years ago po yata yun yung nabalita ang Maribeles, yung parang may nagkaroon ng mini Yolanda doon, parang tinangay po doon sa loob sa baybayin namin yung isang napakalaking barko. Sumudsad po doon sa may amin. Tapos lahat po ng mga kinukwento niya rin po ng mga maliliit na commercial fishing vessel, yung mga maliliit na pahulbot, taksay kung tawagin, taksay na bangka, mga troll. Winarak lahat yun, yung mga payaw. So, isabihin nun sa amin, warak na rin po yung utang nun. Yung kinukwento niya rin po na mga tao na mga anak-anak na dati ay may mga utang sa amin dahil sa kawalan po ng huli ay sumanib na lang po sa mga maliliit na ganong commercial fishing vessel. Kung nangamatay po yun doon, sa amin po ang kahulugan doon, patay na rin po yung utang noon. So, isang hindi pabor sa amin at nakakatakot na sitwasyon yung nangyayari na kahapon po, meron po akong tatay ng mangingisda, tinamaan ng kidlat. Pumunta sa hulo, kukuha ng mga prutas, tinamaan po ng kidlat, walang kaabog-abog. Mga hindi karaniwang pangyayari pero nagiging karaniwan na po. Dati po ang habagat at amihan may tiyak na panahon. Ngayon po sa kalagitnaan ng amihan, nagkakaroon ng habagat. Sa kalagitnaan ng habagat, nagkakaroon po ng amihan. Dati po, pag tatayain lang po namin yan, sa gantong panahon, darating ang espada, magkakaroon ng influx ng puset, magkakaroon ng datingan ng kulita. Kaya alam na po namin sa di-distribute ang mga kalakal. Sa ngayon po, yung mga exporter, hindi na po nila alam kailan nila sasapulin yung tiyak na dami ng panahon. Kasi ano po yan ang sa amin po, dahil perishable goods po yan, at dahil seasonal po yan, yung amin pong mga regular na buyer na parang inaabangan nila na ito, season to ng ganito. Kailangan ready tayo sa ganyan. Halimbawa po, octopus. Ang octopus po, makikita nyo po yan sa noodles nyo. Nakalagay po doon squid. Dinadala ko po dati ang octopus FTI sa food trade dyan sa Taguig. Tutuyuin po nila yon, gigilingin po. Pag nagiling po, squid na po tawag nila doon. Pero binili po nila yan sa amin sa presyong octopus. Ayun po. Kasi nga po, nagiging pamalit po kasi hindi na po regular nga po yung dating ng squid. Ayun po. Ngayon po, yung mga exporter na yan, hindi na po regular ang kanilang pamamakyaw So ang kahulugan ho nun, hindi nagiging regular na rin ang presyo. So pag biglang dumami ang isda, biglang bumuhos ang isda, halimbawa 3 araw na wala, medyo mataas. Biglang bumuhos ang, kung kailan nagpapanghuli ang mga mangingisda na dapat sana masaya sana at merong regular na namamakyaw at regular yung presyo, bababa din po ang presyo nun. So hindi pabor sa amin yun, hindi rin po pabor sa mangingisda. Ayun po yung kalagayan po ng mangingisda ngayon na nagiging suki po namin. Sa bahagi po namin, kahit po sabihin yung bumebenta kami ng kaparehas ng benta nung 2003, yung value naman po nung 2003 at saka yung 2018, medyo malayo na po yon. Ang titingnan po natin dyan, yung volume na dinadala, kaya po inaabot yung ganung presyo kasi po napakamahal na po ngayon ng mga kalakal. Ang Maribeles po ngayon napapaikutan na ng ang coastline niya napapaikutan na po ng kung hindi coal plant, basta mga naka-ready na po yan sa mga pier, kung ano man ang gagawin nila sa mga pier na like the likes ng San Miguel. Yung pinopromo po namin na 5 fingers ngayon, nanganganib po na mawala sa turismo yon dahil po binili na rin po ng San Miguel yung 5 fingers. Ang balita, tatayuan daw po ng, hindi po namin alam kung coal plant o ano. Basta yun po, nabili po yan. Yung nakaharap po yan sa West Philippine Sea. Kung kami po ay nagsusupply sa neighboring areas, ang Manila po, pansinin nyo po, meron po siyang dagat pero hindi niya kayang sustain ang kanyang sarili. Mangyayari po sa amin yan dahil nangyayari na po sa amin ngayon. Sa amin po ngayon, dahil hindi na kaya ng lokal na komunidad yung presyo nung puset. Yung puset po na sariwa, yung kahuhuli po. Umaangkat po kami ngayon. Dito po sa NCR. Aangkat po kami frozen. Nakabox po. May sulat ng in-check. Yung mga kababayan ko, kakain po nun. Di po namin alam ba't walang tinta yun. Ganun po ang kalagayan namin sa Maribeles. Wala na pong pera yung mga tao. Yung business po namin, lahat po kami doon, nanganganib na mawala dahil po nga, hindi lang po yung pagbabago ng klima ang nangyayari. Yung pagbabago ng klima rin po na yan, ang magtatanggal po sa amin ng aming kabuhayan. Kaya dito po, ang laki po ng pasasalamat ko, dahil sa pagkakataon po na to, yung sentimiento ko, sinamahan po ako ng aking asawa, may ilabas ko po yung pangamba ko po. Kasi po, lagi ako nangangamba din sa kinabukasan. Siyempre po, may mga anak tayo, ano po. Kami, tabindagat na kami. Mantakin nyo, maangkat pa po kami ng frozen na tulingan. Yung tulingan po na nakikita ko po ngayon sa palengke na binebenta ko po. Ako po nagbebenta eh. Sa akin po dinadala from Malabon. May mga permit pa po yan. Bebenta ko po yun doon. Pag binaklas po sa yelo yun, yung pusit po na yan, ang tawag namin dyan, pusit washing machine kasi po, tutunawin namin sa tubig yan. Hahaluan po yan ng gin, ng Ajinomoto, tsaka Sprite. Makintab na makintab po yan at ay, okay po. Sige po. Salamat na lang po. Yun lang po masasabi ko. Basta, yun nga po. Sana po yung pag-uusap na to, pagpupulong na to ay maging makabuluhan po sa ating lahat. Yun po.
Maraming salamat, Ginoong De Los Reyes, sa iyong emosyonal na salaysay. Your Honors, may we be allowed to ask some additional questions for clarification or elaboration, Your Honors?
Of course, please go ahead.
Ginoong Rosales, kanina nabanggit niyo po yung pag-iba ng uri ng mga isda, dami ng isda, at yung presyo. Pakibalikan po natin, kung ikukumpara natin po noon at ngayon, anong porsyento po, gaano po naiba ang uri, ang dami, at ang presyo noon at ngayon bilang isang mangingisda?
Nung ang kapansin-pansin po, hello, parang may nalakas na ba? Yung noong kung titingnan natin, yung mga isda na matatagpuan noong 1970 na nahuhuli namin, halos hindi mo na makita ngayon. At yung mga isda na hindi naman pinapansin at hindi kilala sa nakaraang panahon, ay siya ngayon ang makikita natin sa tabing dagat, sa dagat. Marahil ito ay dahil doon sa pagbabago na ng klima, ng pagbabago ng timpla ng tubig, o kaya naman nawala na yung mga bahay tirahan nila, kaya yung kanilang lahi ay unti-unti nang nawawala. Pero mayroong nakakapag-adapt ng mga bagong mga matatapang, ang sikmurang isda na nabubuhay sa maruruming bahagi. At kung titingnan din naman natin, yung huli ng mga mangisda, sabi nga kanina ni Jonathan, kaunti ngayon ang nahuli, pero kahit paano mataas ang presyo. Dati kasi ang huli namin, at ilang oras lang sa laot, nakaka 10 hanggang 15 kilos yung malalaking isda. Yung tinatawag na talakitok at Pero ngayon, makikita mo ang talakitok, bibihira na. Doon na sa mga malamang sa gawing Mindanao at Visayas mayroon. Pero dito sa Manila Bay, wala ka na halos makita. Wala ka na masyadong mahuli. At ngayon, nag-average na lang ang mga mangisda ng huli na 5 kilo kada araw. Kasi mayroon hong tinatawag na jackpot at mayroong wala. Kaya kapag sinuma mo yung huli niya sa pinakamarami at dinivide mo into 1 week o 1 month, isang araw, nagma-maximum siya ng 5 kilos. Ibig sabihin, maliit na ang kanyang, ibig sabihin, wala na, para lang sa panggastos niya, para lang sa pang-araw-araw na pagkain niya, ay kulang pa. Kaya yun, parang laki na ng pagkakaiba ng ating karagatan at ang supply ng isda na nakukuha ng mga mangisda.
Maraming salamat, Ginoong Rosales. Kay Ginoong De Los Reyes, maaari mo bang ipaliwanag kung ano talaga itong sistema ng konsignasyon at paano naapektuhan kayo bilang membro ng konsignasyon kapag dito, di ba, yung mga mangingisda, sa pagkakaintindi ko kanina, nangungutang sa inyo di ba? Pag di nakakabayad, paano yung sistema nyo at paano naapektuhan yung personal nyong kabuhayan dahil dito sa sistemang ito?
Normal po, pagka wala po silang huli, hindi po natin makakaltas yung principal na utang. Pag sunod-sunod na walang huli, uutang po uli sila. So, yung nagkakaroon po sila ng patong-patong na utang, imbis na nabubuhay sila dahil ang tawag nga natin dyan, kabuhayan di hindi siya kabuhayan, kautangan. Kasi, ang nangyayari po, kung ang papel po nga kasi namin, hihingi po sila ng tulong sa amin para lang, pag may huli sila, magdadala po sila. So, minsan, sir, baka po pwedeng ponduhan nyo yung lambat ko. Kasi sir, gusto kong meron na akong bangka pero wala akong means para sa produksyon. Pautangan po yan ng lambat. Pagka po paulit-ulit na walang huli, uutang pa ho uli yan. Yun po ang sitwasyon nila. Tapos po, syempre, kasama po sa konsumo kasi nila kagad antemano bago lumaot po yung gasolina at saka yung yelo. Minsan iuutang pa po sa amin yun dahil hindi naman po sila pwedeng magdala ng walang yelo. Pangalawa po, sabi nga po natin, wala na pong isda sa tabi. So, mas maraming gasolina, mas maraming puhunan. Lalaot sila yung medyo makalayo na kung hindi na yung meron kasing mga cove doon sa amin na kayang abutin ng sagwan. Ibig sabihin, safety pa sila doon, kaya ng sagwan. Pero wala na nga pong mahuli doon. Tapos commercial na nga po yung karamihan doon sa gilid. So kailangan na po nilang lumaot, mas marami po uutangin na panggasolina. So kung huhuli po sila ng 5 kilo, gaya po na sinasabi ni Pablo, pag ang presyo po ng aluman ay 150 pesos, araw-araw po kung ang paglaot nila, sa isang araw po kung ang paglaot po nila ay mamumuhunan sila ng 8 litrong gasolina. Sa 50 po, 400. Parang gano'n lang po ang kwentahan nun, di 400. Tapos po ang kinita mo kung 5 kilo a day sa 150 ay 750. Bale, matitira lang po sa iyo 350. Sumusugal ka pa po ng buhay. Ang isang paa nyo po nasa lundo ng kamatayan po noon dahil nasa dagat naman po kayo Pag nasiraan kayo ng makina, kumatok si makina ng segunda mano mong binili, yun, medyo wala na po yun.
Maraming salamat, Ginoong De Los Reyes. Sa inyo po, kanina po nabanggit nyo po yung red tide na nagiging annual na, hindi na tulad dati na minsan lang. Balikan natin po, ano pong personal na epekto nito sa inyo bilang mangingisda, lalo na naririnig nyo rin po sa organisasyon nyo at kayo rin po sa inyong konsignasyon?
ang kagyat na epekto ng announcement ng red tide, no? Kasi minsan parang may pagsusuri naman marahil ang nag-announce na may red tide. Ang maapektuhan kaagad yung presyo at yung mga umaasa ng tahong, talaba, alimasag, at minsan nag-extend hanggang sa humuhuli ng isda. Babagsak ang presyo ng hindi mabibili yung iba naman bagsak ang presyo, ang iba hindi na mangunguha, hindi na manguhuli. Sabihin, walang kita ang epekto noon sa mga mangisda. Tapos hindi na nakakapagbigay ng support ang gobyerno dahil hindi naman ito calamity. Ibig sabihin normal na proseso, taon-taon mayroon na. Kaya ang panawagan nila sa buwan ng Mayo, maghanda na kayo. Bago dumating ang buwan ng Mayo, maghanda kayo dahil may red tide dyan sa panahon yan. Sabihin, magkakaroon ng bagsak presyo o kaya naman hindi mabibili. Kaya ano yun parang ang tanong namin, ganun na lang ba talaga? Ang tanong namin, ano ba talaga ang ugat ng red tide? Ang sinasabi ng pag-aaral, pollution. Bakit hindi lutasin ang pollution para mawala ang red tide? Parang gano'n naman ang sinasabi namin. Kaya tuloy-tuloy ang aming na sana party. Kaya nga party ito nung nung mga panawagan namin na solusyonan ang usapin sa pollution para yung red tide ma-minimize man lang. Hindi na lang ho sa Manila Bay ang red tide nationwide na. Mayroon na sa Visayas, mayroon na sa Mindanao, mayroon na sa Luzon, sa gawing Pangasinan, La Union at iba pang mga lugar. Na dati nag-originate lang yan sa Manila Bay.
Sa Maribeles po may dalawang yung isang coastline na nakaharap po sa Manila Bay at isang coastline po na nakaharap sa West Philippine Sea. Ang madalas pong nagkaka-red tide dito, ito pong nasa coastline na nakaharap po sa Manila. Pag nag-declare po ng red tide ang gobyerno, Maribeles kasama sa red tide, kahit po magdala ng talaba itong nasa West Philippine Sea na walang red tide, dahil nandito lang naman po sa Manila Bay ang pag-aral, damay na po yun dahil Maribeles po ang sinabi. So ang kahulugan po nun sa mga mangingisda, bawal silang magdala ng kalakal nila ng mga talaba, tahong, o anumang shellfish. Minsan po, pag malala ang red tide, inaabot din po yung gumagalaw gaya ng alimasag, ng hipon, ng pusit. Ang kahulugan po noon sa amin, hindi po mabibili ang mga kalakal. Ang kahulugan po sa amin noon, wala rin kami kikitain. Ang mga tahong po sa amin ngayon, sa coastline po ng Maribeles, madalas po, kinukuha yan sa mga pier. Minsan po, nadadala sa amin, amoy gasolina. Kaya minsan, pinagbabawal na po yung panguhuli ng tahong. Medyo malalaki po siya kasi hindi nabubulabog Bawal nga po hulihin. Ang problema nga po, minsan amoy gasolina na, minsan hindi mo maintindihan kung ano na yung lasa.
Maraming salamat, Ginoong De Los Reyes. Your Honors, that will be all for the witnesses, unless you do have questions, Your Honors.
Thank you very much, Counsel and the witnesses. I now invite panel members to ask their questions. Lea.
Thank you, Chair. Magtatanong lang ho ako kay Ginoong Pablo Rosales. Kailan ho ninyo yung na-notice, napansin, yung effect ng climate change?
Okay na ho. Parang pagpasok ho ng 80s, mayroon ng mga ilang mahalagang bagay na nakakaiba. Tulad ho nung, yun nga, paglitaw na ng pag-init ng pagtaas ng tubig at saka yung pag-init, yung pagkakaroon na ng hindi maipaliwanag na mga kalamidad. Yung sabi nga kanina ni Jonathan ay mayroong tag-init sa tag-araw at mayroon ng tag-araw sa tag-init. May tag-ulan, ay tag-araw sa tag-init, tag-ulan sa tag-init, tag-init sa tag-ulan. Parang ganon. Parang kaya kahit na yung aming mga traditional na knowledge o yung pag-unawa at pagkapa doon sa galaw ng karagatan ay nagbabago, hindi na hindi na umiiral. Kasi kami dati between lang at saka pwede na namin sabihin anong oras na, anong darating na, parang ganon. Yung mga traditional na paraan na ang kalikasan ng aming hangin lang, alon lang, pwede namin sabihin saan papunta yan at saan nanggagaling. Ito noong 80s yon, nagsimula na yon. Mas lumala na yan noong pagpasok na ng 90s. At saka yung, lalo na nitong papadulo na papasok na ng 2000. Talaga namang yung amin ng mga tahanan madalas kapag andyan na yung masamang panahon, kung ano-ano na ang maitali at maidagan sa bubong para hindi man lang tangay ng malakas na hangin. Pero ganun pa man, minsan nabubunot pa eh. Yung mga bahay natin sa tabing dagat, nabubunot, bumabaliktad dahil sa malaking alon at malakas na hangin.
Thank you. Follow-up questions lang. May alam mo ba kayo na programa or activities na ginagawa ng gobyerno para ito ay matugunan itong climate change na ito?
Ang alam ko po, mayroong mga tinatawag na mangrove reforestation kung sa coastal. Tapos pagtatanim ng mga punong kahoy sa tabing dagat. Tulad nga ng nabanggit ko kanina, medyo mahirap maka-avail ang sektor ng mangingisda dahil mayroong mga mga mahuhusay sigurong mag-avail at sila ang nangangasiwa sa mga reforestation ito. Makikita namin sa panahon ng pagtatanim pero hindi na namin makikita ang inaalagaan ng tinanim. Kaya yun yung sinasabi namin na kaya kami gusto rin namin kami ang magtanim ng dahil alam namin na ang bakawan itlugan yan, diyan nag-iitlog ang isda, diyan nagtumitira ang iba pa at dahil kabuhayan namin ang lilikhain ng pagtatanim na yon, matitiyak naming mababantayan namin at titiyakin namin ligtas yun sa mga basura kasi ang karamihan nung pumapatay sa mga bakawan yung basura eh. Yung galing sa paghumangin ng amihan, yung galing NCR, pupunta sa Bataan, pupunta sa Bulacan. Pag humangin ng habagat, yung basura sa Bulacan at Pampanga, pupunta sa NCR. Parang nagpapalipat-lipat. Kaya kung walang depensa yung mga reforestation na tinatanim, madadapa at madadaganan ng mga basura.
Salamat po. Wala na akong tanong.
Commissioner Dumpit.
Magandang tanghali po. Tatanong ko lang po kay Ginoong Rosales. Madalas niyo sabihin yung basura. So gusto ko lang pong alamin at tinanong na rin po ni Comleya kung may alam kayong mga aktibidades ng gobyerno tungkol dito. Nabanggit niyo rin po sa Manila Bay ang concentration din ng basura. Aware po ba kayo na may desisyon ang korte para linisin na tuloy-tuloy ang Manila Bay dun sa continuing mandamos ng Korte Suprema? Aware po ba kayo doon?
Opo. Alam ho namin yun kasi minsan nga pagka nakikipag-usap kami, dahil kami hindi rin namin gustong marumi ang pangisdaan natin kasi gusto namin isda ang mahuli, hindi basura. Ang problema po, minsan, tinututulan din po namin ang implementation ng continuing clean-up ng Manila Bay sa bisa ng mandamos dahil ang unang tinatanggal yung mga mangingisda. Kami hong mga mangingisda na sa tabing dagat ang aalisin dahil parang ang tingin namin kapareho kami ng mga basurang plastic na nagkalat. Hindi, ganun talaga ang kahulugan nun kasi basura ang parang ang punto namin, sana naman may konsiderasyon ang continuing mandamos sa kabuhayan at karapatan ng mga mangingisdang ang buhay ay nakaasa sa pangisdaan. Kaya nga marami hong mga mangingisda sa Manila Bay na nalipat sa bulubundukin ng Bulacan at saka bulubundukin ng Cavite. Ang ginamit na reason, writ of mandamos. Yun ho ang ginamit na rason. Ay di, kawawa naman, samantalang ang plastic na dumadaloy mula sa ilog Pasig, sa ilog ng iba't ibang ilog sa palibot ng Manila Bay, yung ilog ng Maykawayan, ng Marilao at ng iba pang mga ilog, ay patuloy na mabaho, patuloy na marumi. Ba't hindi yun ang unahing ilutasin? Parang kami, ganun ho ang aming reaction doon eh. Katulong kami sa pagpapanibago, pagbabalik ng yaman at kalinisan ng Manila Bay, pero sana naman magsilbi sa amin ang paglilinis ng Manila Bay. Hindi sa kung kanino pa man. Magsilbi man yan sa turismo, magsilbi din sa mangisda, magsilbi din sa pagkain ng mamamayan. Ang problema, sino pa ang mangingisda kung ang mga mangingisdang nasa paligid ng Manila Bay dahil sa bisa ng writ of mandamos ay tatanggalin? Hindi, wala na ho. Kaya nga ngayon kung papasyalo kayo sa may harapan ng Parañaque at Las Piñas, wala na hong bahayan doon eh, pero maraming basura. Ang mga mangingisda na nasa Cavite nakatira sa mga bakawanan para mabuhay na inalis dahil sa writ of mandamos.
Hindi po ba kayo hinikayat o nirecruit ng mga ahensya na nangunguna dun sa clean up na tumulong po kayo para mabigyan din po kayo ng additional livelihood para maglinis din po sa Manila Bay?
Nihikayat po kami. Meron nga po kami mga kasama na ang tinuruan ng livelihood para sa yung mga basura ay gawing isang project para kumita. Yun ho, kaya lang hindi ho siya magiging parang ang iniaalok ho sa amin ay alternatibo. Ang tingin ho namin walang alternatibo sa mga mangingisda kumpara sa pangingisda. Ang alternatibo po, ang kahulugan ay pag-alis bilang mangingisda. Ang hinihingi ho namin supplementaryo dapat, kaya nga ho yung mangrove reforestation ay supplementaryo yon, tapos ilang mga livelihood project ay supplementaryo, pero related po sa ating karagatan, sa ating mga mangingisda. Yun ho, mayroon naman ho, nakikipag-usap naman ng LGU, kahit ho yung BIPAR, na mayroon naman silang programa sa ganun, na na-avail ng iba. Kaya lang, siyempre, hindi ho makabubuhay kapag ang layunin ay pahintuin ng mangingisda sa pangingisda.
Salamat po. Balik po tayo dun sa klase ng basura. Nabanggit po ninyo yung mga solid waste na nakikita natin sa dagat. Yung liquid waste din po ba napapansin po din ninyo pag kayo nangingisda? At saan po ito nanggagaling sa tingin ninyo kung nakikita ninyo? Anong industriya? Anong klaseng industriya?
Marami pong halimbawa kung sa ilog ng Nabotas at ng ilog ng Malabon, yung sa ilog ng Pasig, iba't ibang establishment po, mga hotel yan at saka iba pang mga malalaking mga laundry. Ang tapunan niyan ay ilog, yung mga chemical. Kung titingnan naman ho natin yung ilog ng May Kawayan, kahit nakapikit ka, pag dumaan ka doon, alam mong nandun ka na. Kasi kung hindi ka naka-aircon ha, pero kung nakasakay ka sa aircon, hindi mo mapapansin. Pag tawid mo naka-jeep ka, tumawid ka ng ilog ng Marilao, nakapikit ka, alam mo na nandun ka na. Biglang sabihin na maitim ang ilog, malapot ang daloy ng tubig, nanggagaling yon sa palibot ng mga maaring mga piggery at iba pang mga pagawaan o mga pabrika. Dati mayroon hong pagawaan ng balat diyan yung mga balat ng hayop. Yung tanning. Yun po, parang ang liquid ay madali hong mapansin dahil binabago nito ang kulay ng ating karagatan, pinalalapot ang tubig, kahalo na yung mga plastic na ang pinakamarami ay yung mga isang gamit lang, yung nakalutang sa dagat, yung mga sachet ng kape at iba pang mga iba't ibang klase ng basura. Yun po ang makikita natin sa pollution.
Maraming pong salamat. Siguro magtatanong po ako maya-maya. Meron lang akong titingnan na notes.
Opo.
Thank you.
Ginoong Rosales, doon po sa komunidad nyo, ilang pong pamilya ang apektado? Simula nung napansin nyo na nag-iiba yung klima, may estimate po ba kayo?
Wala pong ganong saktong estimate, pero halos, halimbawa kung titingnan ho sa Nabotas at saka sa Malabon, ang mangingisda po ng Nabotas umaabot ng mga 2,000 mahigit pa. Yung actual na nangingisda. At
ngayon po yun.
Ngayon po.
Dati po?
Dati mas marami. Kasi yung halos wala na rin pong nakatira ngayon sa tabing dagat ng Nabotas dahil na-wash out na ho ng bagyo at saka ng sunog. Kung sa titingnan naman ho sa iba pang mga area, halimbawa sa Ubando o do sa Binuangan, sa barangay Binuangan, halos buong community po apektado ng paglubog o pagtaas ng tubig. Lahat po ng bahay nila doon, yung first floor nila dati, ay second floor nila dati, first floor na ho ngayon. Ibig sabihin, yung usapin ng pagkawasak ng kanilang ari-arian, tapos yung paglala nung kahirapan kaugnay nung pagkasira ng pangisdaan, ay silang lahat tatamaan. Marahil hindi lang ho magkaka-level kasi mayroon naman hong ibang mga kasama natin sa community ng mga isda na nagtatrabaho yung pamilya sa iba o kaya may anak na nasa abroad. Pero tingin ko ho marami-rami ho yan. Wala lang ho kami pang saktong bilang kung ilan po ang apektado.
kung gagawa po kayo ng estimate na yung porsyento po, ilang porsyento po ng mangingisda ang natira kumpara doon sa mga mangingisda ng mga 80s kanyo?
Sa kabuuan po ngayon, mas malaki ang bilang ng mangingisda sa Manila Bay ngayon kumpara noong 1980s. Kasi, ibig sabihin ho, pero, mas, kung parang ngayon hong 2000, noong kami nung binuo namin ng organisasyon namin noong 1998, ang amin pong estimate na bilang ng kabuuang mangingisda sa Manila Bay ay 100,000. Pero ngayon, nababawasan ang bilang ngayon dahil nga sa nadi-displace na ano. Ngayon, kung kukumpara ho sa 1980 o 90 patras pa, mas kakaunti po ang mangingisda noon. Mas dumami po ang mangingisda ngayon. So, kung ang pagbabasihan ay yung paglaki na ng populasyon natin. Kasi ang pangisdaan naman po ang hindi mo kailangan ng diploma para mabuhay. Marunong ka lang mangapa, makakapa ka ng pwedeng maging pera, marunong ka mangawil. Yung iba nga po sa Manila Bay, maraming nakasakay sa balsa. Yung styrofoam, pinagkabit-kabit, nakasakay sa balsa, may lambat, nangingisda na sila.
Paano nyo po, Ginoong Rosales, paano nyo po ipapaliwanag na kumukonti yung isda pero dumadami yung mangingisda?
Kasi ang Biparho siguro may data po kasi na kami tuwan-tuwa nga kami sa datos na pang 3 tayo o pang 10 tayo sa international na nagbibigay nag-contribute ng produksyon ng isda. Pero ang nakakalungkot, lumaki din, umabot ho ng 39% ang itinaas ng kahirapan ng mga mangingisda at diniklara na pinakamahirap sa lahat ng mahirap ang mga mangingisda. Ang laki ng produksyon in terms of dollar, pero lumaki din ang bilang ng mga maghihirap. Ang ibig lang sabihin, mabilis na nauubos ang likas na yaman dahil ang kumukuha ay yung efficient na paraan ng panghuli. Commercial. Commercial fishing ang nagkukontribute ng ang humuhuli ng malaki. Doon pa lang sa laot, hinuhuli na ang papatabi. Dito pa lang sa tabi, hinuhuli na rin ng mga commercial fishers ang papalaot. Kaya wala na hong natitira sa maliliit na mangingisda. Mabilis na nauubos. Hinuhuli ang nanay, hinuhuli ang anak, wala na hong mga anak, wala na rin lalaki. Ganun ho kung ganun ka-massive ang kabilis ang pagkuha ng mga maliliit na isda, tapos hinuhuli ang malalaking isda, wala na hong Tapos wala na hong bahura, limitado na ang bahura kung saan dapat silang mangitlog, wala na rin bakawanan kung saan sila dapat mangitlog. Ang tendensiya, mamamatay sa normal ang isda kapag walang tahanan. Katulad ho ng mga isda, kapag tinanggal sa dagat, patay din siya dahil para siyang isda. Ganun ho kabilis yun. Ang commercial kasi, sa kanila ho, ang pinag-uusapang huli, tunilada Sa amin ho, ang pinag-uusapang huli, piraso. Ilang piraso huli mo? Pag commercial, ilang tunilada huli mo? Yung isang area nila, isang buwang huhulihin ng 100 mangingisda. Araw-araw. Di gano'n kabilis maubos talaga. Kaya lang, yun yata ang kalakaran parang pahusayan sa paghuli. Kaya nga ho yung mangingisda, natuto na rin paramihin ng huli, gumamit na ng dilamita Ihagis mo, pag namatay, pinupulot mo na lang. Paraan para makasabay, ibig sabihin makipag-competition doon sa. Pero kami mga ngawil, manlalambat, kung ano ho yung ilinaglag na lambat, pag binanggalang ng isda, makakahuli ka. Yung mga ngawil, kapag kinabitan mo ng kawil yung ng pain, kung anong kumain, yun ang mahuhuli mo. Selective na selective. Pero dahil nga doon sa ganon, dagdag pa yung ating panahon na nagbago na, lalong pinahirapan ang sektor ng pangisdaan.
Maraming salamat po. Father, may tanong po kayo?
Salamat ho, Rosales. Gusto ko magtanong lang, dahil may 3 o 4 na punto na sabi mo kanina. Para yung una ay yung mga fish kills. Yeah? Ayun sa timpla ng tubig. Diba? Because yan talaga galing sa baboyhan, ganyan, tawag eutrophication. Talagang na-bloom yung red tide. So, yan ay isang problema talaga. Yeah? Yung ikaduhan na problema na sabi mo, yung ikalawang problema, yung commercial fishing. Yeah? Lalo na yung commercial fishing, saka dagdag din yung mga mahihirap dyan. Yung ikatlo ay tungkol sa bagyo. Yeah? Ay kining klaseng bagyo na yon ay mas malakas, mas mahaba yung epekto, lalo sa bahay ng mga tao at panginabuhian. Meron din yung iba na nangyayari na tawag subsidence, pero yan ay more sa agham. Sa tatlong bagay ito, sa commercial fishing na madami, sa timpla ng tubig at yung red tide, at sa bagyo, ano yung pinakagrabe dyan? Ano yung mas grabe o mas epekto siyo?
Kung kami kung ako ang titingin, usapin ang epekto sa kabuhayan, yung kawalan namin ng pansustini sa pang-araw-araw na pagkabuhayan dahil sa kawalan na namin mahuli. Dahil naandyan, mintinado pa rin ang illegal fishing. Commercial at illegal. Kasi ang commercial, nagiging legal naman ho siya kapag sumunod siya sa batas. Yung illegal, nagiging illegal lang siya pag pumasok siya sa pinagbabawal na lugar niya. Pero marami pa ring illegal tulad ng maliliit na troll, maliliit na sudsod, maliliit na mga active at saka destructive. Mayroon naman hong batas na dapat ipatupad. Kasi tingin namin, ang rason bakit kami nasa tabing dagat, kahit guray-giray ang bahay namin, ay dahil andoon po ang kabuhayan namin. O di, kung maayos ang ating kabuhayan, panagmumula ng kabuhayan, malamang, unti-unti namin mapapahusay, mapapatibay ang aming kabuhayan. Hindi namin gugustuhin na pag dumating ang bagyo sa panahon ng Agosto ay mabubuwal ang bahay namin. Ang problema, saan kami kukuha ng pampatibay ng aming bahay kung ang aming kabuhayan ay hindi na kayang mag-supply dahil sa illegal fishing. Dagdag ho pa yung ibang mga problema. Kaya kung batay doon sa tanong na yon, malaking problema ho talaga yung kawalan namin ng nahuhuli. Yung pagtanggal ng aming batayang mga karapatan bilang mangingisda na gamitin ang ating likas yaman sa karagatan. Kami naman, natural kami, kung mayroong abusado sa hanay namin, gumagamit ng mapanirang paraan, survival yon. Gumagawa siya ng paraan para mabuhay, pero mayroon namang batas na dapat sumupil, dapat supilin, at suportahan yung gumagawa ng ganitong klase ng problema. Sa ngalan ng preserbasyon ng ating kalikasan. Kaya ho, illegal yon, magagawa na namin, pag mahuli, marami na kaming huli, magagawa na namin ng maayos ang bahay namin, makakapagdepensa na kami sa mga bagyo. Ganun lang naman ho yun. Kasi ngayon, kapatungan namin ng gulong yung bahay namin sa tabing dagat. Tapos ang haligi namin ay kawayan na nakababad sa dagat. Marami pang ganung klase ng bahay. Kung nasa tabing dagat ka naman, una, hindi bihira kang payagan na magkaroon ng sementohin ng bahay mo kasi hindi naman pwedeng patutuluhan daw ang coastal. Pero may mga beach resorts na pag-aari ng mga mayayaman na pagka mangisda ayaw bigyan ng tenure, karapatan sa paninirahan, pero yung mga resort nagkakaroon ng katibayan sa mahabang panahon. Nasagot po, sir.
Are there other questions from the members of the panel? Council?
Your Honor, can I have a redirect to the question asked by Father Walpole?
All right.
To Mr. Rosales.
Please go ahead.
Ginoong Rosales, nabanggit nyo kanina na isa sa pinaka nakaka-apekto sa inyo nga itong illegal fishing at commercial fishing kasi nakikipagkompetensya ho kayo dito sa mga ito at nawawalan ho kayo ng mga isda pa na mauhuli. Sa inyo palagay, gaano naman po ba, anong porsyento naman po kung may estiman nyo naman, yung epekto naman sa inyo ng pagbabago, matinding pagbabago ng klima?
Sa ngayon kasi parang halos yung binabanggit kanina na malakas na bagyo ay resulta ng pagbabago ng klima. Tingin namin mahalaga itong harapin, pero napakaraming problemang kinakarap namin, lalo na yung day-to-day na araw-araw namin nakakahalubilo ay pangkabuhayan. Tapos ang ano rin namin, tingin namin sa pangkalahatan malaki ang ambag o porsyento ng kontribusyon sa paglala ng aming kalagayan noong pagbabago ng klima. Bagamat siyempre ang sa amin, ang kagyat naming haharapin, ano yung kitang-kita ng aming mga mata na sagabal sa aming pagunlad, sagabal sa aming pag-angat ng kabuhayan. Pero siyempre yung pagbabago ng klima ay isang malaking faktor sa mga mangingisda.
Your Honor, one last point from the petitioners. Just for Mr. De Los Reyes, you mentioned in your statement an estimate, let me speak in Filipino, na sabi niyo po yung sa inyong statement na nag-estimate kayo ng dami o iniliit ng bilang ng mga mangingisda na nagdadala ng isda o huli sa inyong konsignasyon. Maaari po ba ninyong ibahagi para makatulong sa pagbibigay linaw ng ilang porsyento ang nawala o pagliit ng nangingisda at ang huli na pinuproduce ng mga mangingisda nito?
Siguro po yung una yung presyo, pagka titingnan natin napakalaking bagay noon yung 80 tas 280. Mahigit 100% yung tinaas. So kung titingnan natin, kaya umaabot siya ng gano'n kasi mas malaki na yung demand, kakaunti yung ating naisusupply. Sabi ko nga sa inyo, kami po hindi kami kumakain dati ng pusit na walang tinta na nasa karton. Ngayon kumakain na kami dahil wala nga po mahuli. Kung idudugtong po yan doon sa mangingisda, hindi po talaga mangingisda ang mangingisda kung sunod-sunod po silang walang huli. Frustrate po ang kanilang mga anak. Yung mga anak na gusto pa rin mangisda, sasama po yan sa mga commercial fishing vessel na basically lalo lang magpapalala ng kalagayan nila. Yung iba naman po sa amin, namamabrika naman po sila. So, bahagi po nung pagbabago ng kanilang kalagayan, nagbabago na rin po sila ng mode of production. Kung dating sa dagat, ngayon sa pabrika, para potas yung huli, kaya nga po yung pagde-deliver, nagiging kaunti, bukod sa walang mahuli, kumukunti na rin po yung nagdadala.
Ilan po ang miyembro dati ba ng inyong konsignasyon? Kumpara nyo noon at ngayon?
Parang ganun pa rin po. Alam po, kung 500 noon ang mangingisda mo, gaya nga po na sinasabi ko, nagdadala na lang sa akin ngayon isang tao kasi kausap mo, halimbawa po, yung biyahero ng boss jeep ng isang patrol. So, pag nagdala yun, aariin nilang hindi huli ng basta lang maraming mangingisda yun, natauhan niya. Isang kumpanya lang ang humuli noon. So, yun, huli nila yun as company. Yung mga mangingisda kung direktang nanguhuli, kagaya ng sinasabi ni Kapablo, yung namamanti, ang tawag kasi dyan, yung mga naglalambat, yung mga nangangawil. Kung ang dati humuhuli yan ng 10 hanggang 20 kilos per day na mga pusit, na mga alumahan. O gaya, sabi niya, yung talakitok. Ngayon, pagka nagdala sa akin kung ang kilo ng talakitok noon ay 50 o 80 o 100, 120, ang kilo ng talakitok ngayon nasa 300. Kaya lang, pag nagdalang mangingisda ngayon, ang isang mangingisda, dinadala 1 piraso. So, 1 kilo. So, ang nawawala, 19 pieces po. So yung day, kung araw-araw po ganyan yung magiging kalagayan ng mangingisda, talaga pong magpapasabi niya nga po, yung anak niya nag-construction. So, imbis na naging legacy yung pag-aalay ng ulam sa ating hapagkainan, hindi na ho magiging legacy yung kasi frustrate po sila, wala po sila nagiging huli.
Ginoong De Los Reyes, ang tanong ni Attorney Soriano, gaano karami ngayon yung mga maliliit na mangingisda na pumupunta? Kung kukumpara niyo po doon sa dati, sa dami ng nagbibigay sa inyo na mangingisda at sa ngayon po, ilan po kung alam niyo po?
Kung sa nagdadala po, halimbawa, ang regular na nagdadala po, meron po kasing mga 3 araw bago darating yung mga nagpupunta ng kislap, kung tawagin namin yung area ng Sambales at saka yung laot ng Bagak. Minsan po 2 days, 3 days po 'yon. O mga nangangawil po 'yan. Kung ang regular po na nagdadala dati ay 500, ang regular na nagdadala na lang ngayon 100. Pero hindi pa ho regular na may huli 'yon. Hindi po regular na may huli. Isa po ang kaya nga sabi ko nga po sa inyo, pag 3 araw kang nabasyo, ay di wala ka ng panlaot. Hindi ka na rin pauutangan ngayon ng konsignasyon. So, construction ka muna, sideline ka muna, bago kung ano, magkaroon ka ng konting ipon, saka pa lang uli makakalaot. Hindi na rin po regular ang kanilang kabuhayan.
Maraming salamat po. Your Honors, at this point, Your Honors, may we request or may we move that the witnesses be excused?
Two members of the inquiry
sorry,
panel would like to field some more questions. We will start with Commissioner Pimentel Gana.
Just one very quick question. Sa madaling salita po, Manong Pablo, sino ba talagang may kasalanan sa mga pangyayaring ito na kumunti ang isda, sumama ang, ang igip ng hangin? Sino sa tingin niyo may kasalanan talaga?
Hindi ho masamain yung enforcement, yung gobyerno natin. May mga batas na sinulat para lutasin ang problema ng illegal fishing, hindi pinapatupad. Kung pinapatupad man, may kinikilingan. May mga bantay dagat tayo, may mga maritime tayo, may mga coast guard tayo. Kaya lang hindi ho nila bit-bit ang diwa ng batas. Bagkos ang bit-bit nila, marami sa kanila ang diwa ng kanilang sariling kagustuhan. Kaya kung mayroon hong gano'n, hindi na kami naghahanap ng bagong batas. Naandyan na po kasi. Ang pangisdaan natin, binalikan lang namin yung batas ni Marcos 704, umpisa ng paglutas sa problema ng pagkasira. Nagkaroon ng Republic Act 8550 noong 1998, na amyendahan, ginawang 10654 ngayong 2015, pareho pa rin ang problemang pinag-uusapan. Sabihin kung sa panahon pa lang ni Marcos at saka ni Ramos noong 1998 ay pinatupad na yung mga batas, ibig sabihin na minimize na sana ang problema sa illegal fishing. Ay hanggang ngayon po, 4 na dekada na mayroong batas na gustong magprotekta at mag-rehabilitate. Problema nung pinag-usapan noong 1975, pinag-uusapan pa rin ngayong 2015 nung likhain ang amendments ng Republic Act 10654. Kaya kung tatanungin po, yung ating paano ba talaga ipinapatupad yung ating mga batas? Kasi parang sa amin, mabawasan lang yung commercial, mawala yung illegal fishing, mawala yung dynamite fishing, mawala yung cyanide fishing, mawala yung destructive fishing. Pag nawala ho yun, hindi naman kami kontra sa kanila, dapat suportahan ng gobyerno kasi madi-display sila eh. Bigyan sila ng kaukulang pamalit o suplementaryo habang pinagpapahinga natin ang ating karagatan. Problema doon, hindi ho ganun ang linya. Kung mayroon man napakapili na mga area, hindi ho komprehensibo ang pag-implement ng batas para sa komprehensibo sana ang rehabilitasyon ng ating pangisdaan.
Commissioner Dumpit.
Tanong ko lang po ulit, Ginoong Rosales, yung sa organisasyon nyo ba, may tala ba kayo may tala ba kayo kung ilang araw kayong hindi nakakapalaot sa sama ng panahon? At saka may tala din ba po kayo kung kailan po nagkakaroon ng red tide? Sa inyo pong organisasyon lang po, hindi po sa gobyerno. No? Gusto ko lang pong tanungin itong mga to kasi nasabi din ninyo na dahil nga rin po dito sa mga dahilan na ito ay nauubusan po kayo ng huli o hindi po kayo nabibigyan ng oportunidad para manghuli po sa laot.
Pagka may kalamidad po, ang kadalasan naman kapag ang bagyo may pinakamahaba ang 3 araw. Kaya sa loob ng ika-4 na araw, nakakalaot na po ang mga mangingisda. Depende po kasi din sa mangingisda po kasi halos may 1,000 po kasing klase at paraan ng pangingisda. Halimbawa sa amin, pante at saka yung hook and line. Kapag hook and line po, lumalayo yan, kaya pag bagyo talaga, hindi lalaot yan hanggat hindi tiyak na kalmada. Kaya ang pag-anunsyo pa lang ho ng signal number 2 yung area pupuntahan nila o yung lugar niya, hindi na ho lalaot yun. Hanggang sa makalabas ang bagyo. Doon pa lang lalaot. Kaya ang pinakamahaba niyan, mga 4 na araw. Tapos doon naman ho sa, ano po yung isa? Yung
Red tide.
sa red tide po. Ang
Or fish kill, yung ano po niya, yung gaano kadalas, ilang araw po kayong nawawala ng karampatang huli dahil po dito.
Ang fish kill po kasi, halimbawa pagka, hindi ko dalawa ho kasi ang nagaganap na fish kill. May fish kill po na nanggagaling sa mga aquaculture, yung overfeeding at saka yung sobra yung volume ng inaalagaan. At mayroon din hong fish kill na nagaganap mula sa pagsasanib ng tubig tabang, tubig alat dahil sa dumi. Pagka ganun po, yung fish kill na nanggagaling sa nire-resulta ng pagsasanib ng tubig alat at tubig tabang, umaabot po ng 1 linggo. 1 linggo pong malinis yung dagat. Ibig sabihin, malinis, wala kang nahuhuli. Pero ang mga isda ay bumabaho doon sa paligid dahil may mga nangamatay o yung iba lumayas kaya naubos. Pero nagre-recover po yan after 1 week. Yun po yung ano na yun. Pagka doon naman ho sa ibang, halimbawa, naganap na fish kill sa Ubando noong nakaraan. Ito po ay resulta ng ng climate, ng pag-init ng tubig sa palaisdaan, namatay yung mga bangos at mga tilapia. Dahil yung pag-init na yon hindi ina-anticipate na tataas yung level ng temperatura, mamamatay yung mga isda. O yun, may mga ganun po. Medyo yun, palaisdaan yung private kasi yun. Ang mas concern namin yung mga fish kill na nagaganap sa municipal water.
Siguro po, gusto ko lang din po bahagi sa inyo kung bakit ko natanong ito. Kasi gusto po natin sigurong makwenta kung gaano karami ang nawawala. So pag sa pamamagitan ng pagkwenta ng mga araw na hindi kayo nakakapalaot o di kaya yung mga araw na talagang hindi kayo makapangisda dahil sa fish kill, nakukwenta rin po natin yun at na ko-convert po natin sa kabuhayan, sa kita ng isang mangingisda. At madalas nyo nga rin pong sabihin na pagka hindi po kayo nakapalaot, wala po kayong kita dun sa araw na po na yun. So maaari po nating makwenta po yun.
Council.
Yes, Your Honor. Last question, Your Honor, before the witness be excused, Your Honor. Ginoong Rosales, kanina sa tugon nyo kay Commissioner Gwendolyn Pimentel-Gana, nabanggit nyo na isa sa pinakamalaking problema talaga ay ang enforcement o sa gobyerno. Sa inyong salaysay, nabanggit nyo sa pahina 6 na ang amin lang, gusto naming malutas ang problema, pagbayarin o panagutin ang may sala. Itong malalaking industriya na nagbubuga ng karbon. Maaari nyo po bang paki-explain o bakit nyo nasabi itong salaysay na ito?
Hello. Kung titingnan kasi ang pagkasira ng kalikasan, nakaka-effect na lumikha ng mga malalakas na bagyo, pagtaas ng tubig, pagtaas ng alon, ay mga pag-aaral naman ang nagsasabi na dahil yan sa mga malalaking industriya, malalaking bansa na mabilis na umunlad mula sa kanilang pag-extract sa likas yaman ng mga bansa tulad ng Pilipinas, na ngayon ay napakayaman, tapos ang mga bansang nakatulong para sila ay yumaman ay naapektuhan dahil sa epektong idinulot ng pagbabago ng klima. So dapat ang sa amin, sila naman ang nakinabang at nagpasasa sa likas yaman na naging dahilan ng kawalan ng kakayanan ng ating kapaligiran na i-absorb yung ilinalabas nilang mga usok na nagdala sa kanila ng limpak-limpak na kita. Dapat managot sila doon sa pagkasira ng kalikasan. Managot sila sa epektong idinulot nito sa kabuhayan ng mga mangingisda, sa kabuhayan ng mga magsasaka at ng mga mamamayan. Ngayon, kung mangunguna sila dapat pangunahan nila ang saan nyo nang magbayad sila sa pinsalang nilikha nila sa kalikasan at kabuhayan ng mamamayan, pangunahan nila ang pagbabago ng pag-ambag ng pagbabawas ng ng carbon na ibinubugan nila, tapos ponduhan nila ng libre ang paggamit ng mga renewable. Kasi marami namang pwedeng gamitin para mabawasan yung paggamit ng ang mga kanina nabanggit naman ng mga pag-aaral na maraming pwedeng pagmula ng enerhiya na hindi sisira sa kalikasan. Pero ang ginagawa nila paiwas. Kaya kami nananawagan, sasama kami at kaisa kami sa panawagan na pagbayarin itong mga malalaking multinational corporation. Kasi tama na, nagpayaman na sila eh. Tumulong naman sila sa pagre-rehabilitate ng ating kalikasan. Huwag naman din gawing negosyo pati ang rehabilitasyon ng kalikasan.
Your Honors, there are no questions, further questions for the witnesses. If they may be excused, Your Honors, unless you do have further questions. Yes, Your Honor.
Dun sa, gutom na ba?
Kaya ko.
Anyway, Manong, kasi 'di ba marami kayong mga areas na nangingisda kayo, 'di ba sa ganon. At sabi niyo may kasalanan yung carbon majors, ganyan, ano po. Ano kaya yung area ninyo na kung saan kayo nangingisda? Na sa palagay ninyo nakita ninyo na itong mga rason na binigay nyo, na silang may kasalanan, meron mo ba kayong ebidensya na kung ano man particular na lugar na kung saan kayo nangingisda na ganito nga, dahil sa kanila, kaya nasira ang ating mga environment. Lalo na doon sa inyong pangingisda. Meron ba kayong direct experience na nakita or anong lugar sa inyong mga pinangingisdaan?
Sa area ho ng Manila Bay at saka sa gawin ng papuntang China Sea sa may Reyes, madaling makita sa mga bahura yun eh. Mga bahura po, ang sinasabi namin, kapansin-pansin ang mga bahura na parang nagbabago yung kulay nila at nagre-resulta ng pag-alis ng mga isda. Ang tawag nga, narinig ko na ho yung tawag dyan, sabi nila yung coral bleaching daw, yung pamumuti ng bahura. Matasaksihan po yan sa area ng Maribeles, doon sa mga area ng may corals. Sa Manila Bay kasi wala na hong corals, maliban sa bunganga ng koridor. Bunga sa Maribeles, sa dulo ng Maribeles at saka sa koridor at saka sa dulo ng Batangas, Cavite. May matatagpuan tayong mga corals doon. Pero papasok ka ng Pampanga, Bulacan, NCR hanggang Parañaque, Las Piñas, wala na hong makikitang corals diyan. Bundok ng basura mayroon diyan, napakararami. Kaya yun parang kung sa tanong po, doon namin makikita yung ganung epekto. At kahit ho yung skill, at kahit ho yung laginlin na natawag namin, epekto po ng init ng panahon yun.
Are you intending to redirect your witness again?
No more, Your Honor. That will be all, Your Honors.
All right, thank you very much, Counsel. I noticed in our schedule that you're supposed to present another witness before adjourning for lunch, but in view of the fact that we're already almost an hour in delay, may I suggest that we break for lunch and then proceed later on to your next set of witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor, we agree.
All right, thank you very much. Just an administrative matter. We'd like to inform the people here in this hall that lunch has been prepared by the commission for everyone. Where is the lunch? Okay, you will be directed to go there. So we will adjourn and be back in an hour. All right, thank you very much. Session is adjourned.